Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I've never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports. I don't even know why I'm still here. I don't know why I'm doing this. I was seriously considering just not even showing up, not even doing this. I hate this show. I hate myself. I hate my life. I hate everything about this. I hate the board today. The board is overwhelming. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I'm going to give out 10 plays. I don't really want to have a long show here. I want to go fast. I don't want to talk about every game. I just don't want to do it. Everything is fucking bullshit. South Florida yesterday actually covered, they pushed, if you got the best number on it. They were losing by double digits at the half, so they were in a massive hole. They wound up winning by 6 in overtime. So if you got right on it when I gave it out, I think you may have gotten the better number. Maybe it was already gone by then. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. These college basketball lines move way too fast. It was a push at the number that I got. And then the football game last night. Football was horrendous yesterday. Dude, do I want to take an 0-3 in like my pick'em pools? No. My pick 5, at least I only had Baltimore in it. I didn't have the other games in it. And that game was unbelievably misleading. I mean, statistically, yardage-wise, the game was close, but also Baltimore had like a 1.3 yards per play edge in the game. Like Baltimore had like over 6 yards per play in the game, and Cincinnati had like 4 or 4.8 maybe, whatever it was. Baltimore was the better team in the game. It's just they had like 5 or 6 turnovers, and about half of them were total bullshit. Baltimore was about to take what would have been an 8-point lead in the second quarter. They would have been up 8 if they got the extra point. And instead, it was a fumble into the end zone. So another play where you have a touchdown, basically, in just a matter of inches, and it gets fumbled into the end zone instead. And it was initially ruled a touchdown. And the touchback rule is the worst rule in any professional sport. How can you go from an inch away from the goal line to no longer even having possession? And it's like a 14-point swing in the game. Fuck you. That rule should not happen. Then there was that other play where one of, 4 or 5 fumbles for the Ravens. Also, fumbles, by the way, they're random, essentially, as far as who recovers it. And it was like the Ravens didn't recover any of them. They had more lost fumbles than like any team in any game this year. And one of them was not even a fumble. If you saw that, it was absolutely forward motion on Lamar Jackson's arm, and they call it a fumble. Makes no sense. It was clearly an incomplete pass. It wasn't even close. And then there was another play where Zay Flowers, little bit of a push, and they call offensive pass interference, taking away a touchdown from the Ravens. That was earlier on. I think that would have been a play that would have put them up by, or I think they would have been back up 6 maybe if that had happened, or 5, I guess, if that had happened, whatever it was. And Jamar Chase was doing that all fucking game. So if you're going to call that, you better call it evenly and call it on both teams. Fuck you. Like, every team was doing that yesterday. Every single team was doing it. And the only time it gets called is when Zay Flowers does like a little bit of a push and it's a touchdown and they have to take the touchdown away because the refs have to rig the fucking game. That game was not what it looked like at all. It was the most frustrating game that I've ever fucking seen. And then, even though Baltimore was moving the ball pretty well against Cincinnati's travesty of a fucking defense, it didn't result in like any fucking points. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. And Cincinnati's offense wasn't great with Burrow back. I mean, it was better-ish. But the whole part of that handicap was Baltimore's going to score a ton of fucking points here. And the points just kept getting taken off the board in every way possible. It's fucking insane. Baltimore should have at least topped 30 points in that game. It's so bad, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm never going to talk about it again. What's up, everybody? Jeffrey, Charles. This is not a party. This is going to be like a funeral. Saab, what's up? Fuck South Florida. The number that I gave it out at, like I said, was a push, but what can you do? College basketball, these lines move. We're going to talk about college basketball right now. I don't even want to do it. There's a game coming up in an hour at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for some fucking reason in the Bahamas between Virginia Tech and VCU, which my assumption would be that VCU kind of has, like, they kind of want to show up in a game against one of the bigger Virginia schools. Little brother, big brother situation. However, VCU's been better than Virginia Tech the last multiple years. Like, it's been a while, so maybe Virginia Tech kind of is assuming the role of the little brother now. I don't want anything to do with this game. VCU lost to Vandy yesterday, which I mentioned Vandy was a lean yesterday, but of course that was not one of my plays. They covered. Virginia Tech had a tougher game yesterday, losing to St. Mary's, and not only that, but that ended their undefeated season, although they haven't really faced anybody good yet, except Providence, I guess, if you even want to call them good. So Virginia Tech, I think they're kind of in the worst spot because they had a tougher game yesterday against a better opponent. Well, actually, I don't know. Is St. Mary's, well, we'll talk about that. Maybe St. Mary's is actually not better than Vandy anymore. It's been so long since that hasn't been the case, though. But St. Mary's does play like a more kind of physical, slow-down defense. And the fact that that was their first loss, that could hang them over into this game. My lean in this game would be to VCU, but it's not strong. The money does agree with it. They're up to 2.5 already from a 1-point favorite. When I looked like a half an hour ago, basically, it was 1.5. So again, college basketball lines, don't listen to me. Just, I don't know, just get into my head, do what I do, and play the game before I even talk about it on the show, because otherwise you're not going to get as much line value. There's nothing I can fucking do about it. Unless I'm going to do the shows overnight, which, fuck that, I'm not going to do that. 71% of the tickets on Virginia Tech, 93% of the cash on VCU. Money agrees with me. Whatever. Noon, we have number 1 Purdue against this just a joke of an Eastern Illinois team, but Purdue is technically in a bad spot because they did just beat Texas Tech. They just won whatever the hell this tournament is that they were in, I think. I don't even know what it was. Don't really care. The Bahamas in the Bahamas. They do have Rutgers next. So they do start Big Ten play next, and then a bunch of other big opponents up next. So this is a game that they could just want to get in, get out. Not really put in a full effort in the game. They don't need to win the game. It's a bigger game for Eastern Illinois if they can even try to compete with Purdue. But Purdue, you're asking them to cover like a 40-something point spread here, and Purdue does play slow as well, so I would take the points in this game. Do I really want to do it? No. But Purdue's down to a 40-point favorite. 60% of tickets, 72% of the cash on them. I mean, I don't love the idea of having money on a team as bad as Eastern Illinois, but I just don't really see much of an incentive for Purdue, and the total's low at 141.5. You think they're going to win this game by 40? Like, you're basically asking, like, for that to happen, Eastern Illinois would have to not even get to, like, 50 in the game, which, I mean, it's definitely possible, but I don't really see it happening. Purdue is actually not as good defensively as they are offensively, even though they play slow. Northeastern is playing Wake Forest in Winston-Salem. So this is at Wake Forest. Wake Forest easy game against Campbell after you thought maybe they would be in kind of a hangover spot, a letdown spot, whatever, after playing Texas Tech and Memphis in that Bahama tournament. Didn't matter. They came back. They won anyway. Maybe they look ahead because they got Oklahoma, West Virginia up after this, so probably not the greatest spot for Wake here. Northeastern is also coming off a big win, though. They just pulled off, I believe, an upset over Duquesne, so that's kind of a big win, too. Now they're going to go out on the road after that, although you got to expect they'll at least show up for a game against an ACC team like Wake. Although both teams are in somewhat bad spots, I would probably take the points with Northeastern, but not a strong opinion at all. 89% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on Wake. They're a very public side, down slightly to 18.5. We have a really big game at 12:30 on Fox at Madison Square Garden between number 5 UConn, number 13 Illinois. This game, it's closer to UConn, obviously. UConn's going to have I think they're going to have a pretty decent amount of crowd support, but as I point out, UConn, like, their biggest home advantage, obviously, is the arena on their actual campus. Like, when they go to these bigger arenas, they get, like, kind of the rich New Englanders, whatever, in the area that kind of show up for it, whatever. Still, I kind of lean towards UConn here. I mean, they're the better team, and they're going to be the team that's going to try to slow it down and frustrate Illinois because Illinois wants to play fast. I'd probably be looking towards UConn in this one. UConn, they just had an easy win over Bryant where they won by a lot and still didn't even cover, and that was a win for us on the show because I just expected UConn to just kind of go through the motions and not care, and that is pretty much what happened, and they won anyway. It didn't even matter. Illinois, they're a good team this year. They're off to a decent start here, and they had kind of a lackluster game in their last game against UT Rio Grande Valley, where that was a game where, again, I thought Illinois was probably just going to not have to put in a full effort, and they only won by 14, and they were probably more than a 30-point favorite, I would guess, in that game. They were, I think, clearly looking ahead, and they just knew they could just get out of that game with a win and not care. So both teams are coming off uninspiring performances, which I think basically means you're going to get both teams showing up in this game. Connecticut is already up from 2 to 4 on the line, though. So, again, line value gone, 80% of the tickets and cash on them, so they're public. But the money's coming in towards the under, and this is a game where UConn is correlated to the under, in my opinion, because they're the team that plays slow. Illinois wants to speed the game up, so I think Illinois would be correlated to an over. I think the fact that the money is coming in on both the under and seemingly on the UConn side, at least to move that line, even though they do look public as well, I think UConn is the correct side in that game. Do I want anything to do with it? Absolutely not. Rio Grande Valley, yeah, they're the Vaqueros, which I don't know what are Vaqueros? They're like, I don't know, they're like cowboys, they're ranchers or something. I have no fucking idea. St. Mary's and Vandy, this is the one that I was kind of referring to a little while ago, in the Bahamas. Kind of an interesting one. This might be the championship game in this thing. Yeah, it is, in the battle for Atlantis. So once you get to the championship, I mean, you kind of expect both teams are going to show up for this, but it's an interesting one because Vandy, this is actually tournament revenge, and it gets to happen in one of these early season tournament challenges or whatever. St. Mary's eliminated Vandy from the tournament last year, like the actual March Madness tournament. So Vandy, interestingly, they get to match up against St. Mary's here. So I think Vandy is probably going to come into this with a little bit more focus, but are these teams so different from last year that Vandy deserves to be a 3.5-point favorite here, whereas last year St. Mary's was a 4.5-point favorite against them on a neutral? Like, have these teams' profiles changed so much that the line should change, whatever that is, 8 points? I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, both teams are coming off wins yesterday, obviously, because they both advanced in this tournament. St. Mary's, more impressive win over Virginia Tech, but did that take more out of them? Maybe. Vandy only had to beat Western Kentucky. Or no, they beat VCU yesterday, so my mistake. VCU is actually a pretty good team, so that's an impressive win as well. So never mind. So both teams really kind of in a similar spot here. It's just that Vandy is playing with that tournament revenge, but they're up to a 3.5-point favorite, and the money's coming back on St. Mary's. 68% of the tickets on Vandy, 73% of the cash on St. Mary's. So the money taking the points of St. Mary's. Oddsmaker's telling you Vandy is the better team right now, and if that's the case, I think it's very slight. Like, I don't know if they deserve to be this much of a favorite. Ken Bum does have them 6 ranking spots higher. But the other thing is that St. Mary's profile is a good underdog because they play good defense and they slow the game way down. Vandy is the opposite. Vandy is offense and fast, so it's going to be this weird pacing collision. So again, it's a game where there's going to be probably you get Vandy is correlated to an over. St. Mary's is correlated to an under in this game. The money is coming in on the under. I mean, my first glance at this, I wanted to lean into the revenge angle for Vandy, but I don't know. The more I look at how the market's shaping up, the more I look at it, and the fact that the number seems too high, I would probably take the points with St. Mary's, but I really don't love it. I mean, that revenge angle is going to still be there. The Cowboys, yeah, not the Dallas Cowboys. Let's not talk about those fuckers. San Francisco is playing Nevada here. San Francisco took a loss yesterday in whatever this tournament is, the Children's Hospital, whatever thing, in Palm Springs, California. San Francisco just lost a long win streak as well. They lost to Colorado yesterday, although San Francisco was actually the favorite in the game. So I could see this kind of going both ways because, yeah, they were the favorite, but that's still kind of a big deal playing a Big 12 team. They lost the game, lost a win streak. So is that going to hang them over, or are they going to be in a bounce-back spot because they lost as a favorite? I don't really know. It's hard to gauge, man, when I see, like the way that I look at these things, they kind of conflict with each other. I was correct about Washington yesterday, by the way, as Washington bounced back nicely from that really ugly game against Southern. They beat Nevada pretty easily and covered easily as well. Should have given it out as a play, but I did not. I don't know. I just didn't feel strongly enough about it. So Nevada's coming off that ugly loss. Does that mean it's going to set up better for them here? I don't know if I want to say that because even though Nevada has this kind of name recognition in basketball because they seem to always kind of be in there, in the tournament, whatever, San Francisco's the better team. The odds makers are telling you that. Like, Nevada's down this year, and San Francisco probably going to be competitive, at least in their conference there. They're up from 5 to 6 now, so the money looks like it's coming in on San Francisco. I don't know if I love the spot for it, but I'm not really going to disagree with it either, so probably I would agree with it with San Francisco. Cleveland State is playing Missouri at Missouri, but Missouri, you could argue they have a look ahead to Notre Dame and Kansas. Those are, bigger games, clearly. I don't know. That's really the only situational angle I see in this game. Cleveland State did end their loss streak with a win over some non-Division I teams. So that'll at least give them momentum and probably won't make them overconfident. I would probably lean towards taking the points of Cleveland State, but the number has gone down from 29.5 to 29 on Missouri, but it is a very high total because I believe both these teams want to play fast. Total down to 170. Could be a lot of points in that one. I don't love it at all, though. Texas State, Seattle, I was close to giving this one out. This game is in Las Vegas, and that's the reason why I have some hesitations with the Texas State side here, because that is the side that I do like in this one, but it has not made my card. And most of it hinges on the fact that Seattle just had their first true road game, and they pulled off an upset at Stanford. That's a big win, dude. I mean, Stanford, maybe they're not great right now. I mean, they've had a decent history as a basketball program, and they were double-digit favorites here against Seattle at home. And they're an ACC team, which sounds still very weird to me. Seattle pulled off that big upset. They were actually losing the game by double digits, and they came back and won the game. Seems like a bit of an outlier, though. Stanford had a horrible shooting game, 37% from the field, 28% from three. Seattle was 44% from three. So looks like kind of a fluke. Could set them up for a letdown here, man. So I'd be looking to take the points with Texas State in the Resorts World Classic in Las Vegas. Too many Las Vegas tournaments going on. Texas State has some momentum right now. They've won 5 games in a row, but mostly beating not great teams, and they're coming off a win over some non-Division I team, but that will give them momentum. I like Texas State, but the only issue I have with this is how are they going to respond to playing in the Pacific time zone for the first time this year, which they have not done. They've stayed, I believe they've been in the Central time zone the entire season so far. And So not only do they have to do that, although at least it's an early game for them, so that's not as bad. But the other thing is it's an afternoon game, so that's fine-ish. But the other thing is, are they going to get distracted by Las Vegas? Because Seattle is much more used to playing there because they're in the WAC, which is WAC. But the WAC, or no, sorry, they're in the WCC now. I didn't even realize that. They moved into the WCC. But either way, both of those conferences actually play their conference tournaments in Las Vegas, and Seattle has been in the WAC, so they're used to playing in Las Vegas, and they're actually staying in the Pacific time zone. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously. They played in the Pacific time zone all season, I believe, because they're in Seattle, and they made that one road trip to Stanford, whatever. I can't quite get there with this one, but I do like the Texas State side in the game. Seattle has gone up from a 6-point favorite to a 7-point favorite with juice, though. Low total, very low at 136.5. That's the other thing. Seattle, they do not profile well as a big favorite because they play pretty slow. They play ugly, so they don't cover huge numbers as often. Another reason maybe to look towards Texas State. I like it, but I have some stronger opinions on some other games. And I just worry about the location as well in that one. Oklahoma-Marquette, pretty big game in the afternoon on NBC. Of course, the show is going to still take forever, even though I don't want it to. I hate it. I fucking hate it. Oklahoma coming off an easy win over Alcorn State, where I assume they didn't cover. I mean, it was not an impressive performance there. Marquette, they're coming off a win that's going to give them a nice bounce back and end a loss streak that they had, beating Central Michigan. But with Marquette, they haven't stepped up well in class, man. They've faced 3 power conference teams so far, and they've lost, or no, 2, and they lost them both to Indiana and Maryland, and then they face Dayton, Dayton's a fairly strong team, but they're not really a power conference. They're in the A-10, but Marquette lost that game too. So Marquette, when they've stepped up in class, they have not played well this year, which is not great. This is in the Bad Boy Mowers series in Chicago, so the location is more helpful to Marquette because they're like a Milwaukee school, so they are closer. Oklahoma, they've lost to both power conference teams as well, but one of them was on a true road game at Gonzaga. I mean, I didn't expect them to win that game. Gonzaga, despite what happened the other night, they're still elite, in my opinion. Oklahoma also lost a close one in Kansas City, I think, against Nebraska. I forget. Maybe that wasn't in Kansas City. I forget. But Nebraska, I mean, they're an okay team as well. I'm not going to really give Oklahoma too much crap for that. But, yeah, I mean, you can probably tell I'm leaning towards Oklahoma in this one. The money seems to agree. They flipped from a 1-point dog to a 1.5-point favorite. Marquette is the public side. People maybe just not buying Oklahoma getting into the tournament last year, maybe forgetting that they did, because Oklahoma had a really good non-conference part of the schedule last year where they were really, really hot, and then they weren't as good in SEC play last year, and then people just kind of forgot about them, but they still made the tournament, and they got bounced right away by UConn. So people, I think, give Marquette more credit because they look pretty decent in the Big East. They have for the last few years, and they've made the tournament all those seasons, but I think Marquette's a little bit on the downswing, man. So, and Oklahoma seems to kind of be going on, like moving in the right direction. So 62% of tickets, 51% of the cash on Marquette. Marquette's the public side at basically a pick the winner price. My opinion is Oklahoma in that one. We have Wright State facing Butler. Wright State's, sort of geographically in the same area there. Wright State, I believe are they in Ohio? Is that right? I keep getting it wrong. I think they're in Ohio. Butler, coming off a nice couple of wins, man, over, they've come off 3 big games in a row where they took SMU to within 2 points on the road in a true road game, beat South Carolina. I know South Carolina might be the worst, or they're one of the worst 2 SEC teams, but still it's an SEC team. Butler beat them, and they beat Virginia, and Virginia seems to be improving a bit, and they've got a lot of weight behind their name in basketball. So those are big wins. Now they're coming off all that, and now they're facing Wright State. Could be a spot where maybe Butler is a little bit hungover here. Maybe you don't get the greatest effort out of them here. Wright State, they're on a little mini run here of 2 wins, although they only beat a non-D1 team and then Stetson, who are quite bad this year. But you got to think Wright State's going to show up for this one because this is a game against a power conference team. The only other time they faced one this year, they actually were pretty respectable in a 10-point loss in a true road game, I believe, at Cal. So that's a decent sign. I would take the points with Wright State, but Butler has gone up from 14.5 to 16 here, and the money looks like it's on their side for now, although, again, don't want to put much weight into these early reads here, but 62% of the tickets on Wright State, 65% of the cash on Butler, but I disagree. I would lean towards Wright State. We have Providence and number 10 Florida playing in San Diego and whatever the hell this tournament is. No, that's the children's one, the Jenny Craig one. I don't know. I forget what the Palm Springs one is then. Who cares? Florida, they're number 10 in the country. They took a pretty ugly loss yesterday to TCU, man. Florida, they've actually lost. Losing to Arizona is one thing because Arizona is a really good team, but losing to TCU, I don't know, man. I mean, is TCU actually better than we thought that they were? Because TCU did look good against Michigan. Or were those games outliers? I don't know. I'm still leaning towards those games being outliers. Florida was an 11.5-point favorite in this game, and they looked poised to win this game. I mean, they looked like they were going to start pulling away with it. They were up double digits in the second half and then lost the lead, but then they were still starting to rebuild it late in the game. And they still somehow wound up losing the game to TCU. Huge upset for TCU. Florida, I could see it going both ways. You could argue that maybe Florida will be angry about that and bounce back from that. Because they lost as a big favorite. So when that happens, teams will tend to bounce back. But you could also argue that, well, they haven't lost in so long. It could actually hang them over a little bit. And maybe they just won't care. Now that they can't win this, whatever this tournament is, maybe they'll just be hung over in this game. They do have Duke and UConn up next. Possible they overlook Providence. And Providence is probably going to be angry as well because they got embarrassed yesterday by Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin's a solid team, but Providence losing that game by over 20 and giving up 100 points, that's not great. Providence, not a great team defensively, really, which still, if Florida shows up, that'll be a problem because Florida obviously can score, but I don't know, man. I'm going to lean to Providence plus the points in this one, but obviously I don't have a strong opinion on this. Plus, do you really want to play Florida when they're 666 on the betting board here? Is that what you want? You want to go up to the window? Give me number 666. 92% of the tickets, only 76% of the cash on Florida. So they look public with less of the money on them. They're up from an 11-point favorite to a 12-point favorite. I know Providence is not that good, though. Obviously that is built into the line, though. Total is also high, up to 169, because we're looking at Florida likes to play fast. That is probably what will happen here. Providence, I think, also is a somewhat fast-paced team, if I recall. I still have to get my gauge on some of these. Yeah, they're actually a very fast-tempo team, Providence is, and they don't really play defense, so probably going to be a very high-scoring game in that one. No way. What, the 666? Yeah, do not do it. All right, I'm shouting out Arkansas State because they are hosting whatever this tournament is in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I believe they're hosting whatever it is. They're hosting North Dakota State here. Don't really have an opinion on it. Both teams, I believe, just beat Jacksonville State in this tournament thing. So same common opponent. They both beat them by around the same amount. So what do we do with this game? Well, we don't play it. But Arkansas State looks like they're getting the money up from 2 to 2.5. I kind of think they're the better team, and they're at home. So it is possible that maybe that line is shortchanging them a little bit. North Dakota State, they're one of the better Summit teams. But I think Arkansas State may be the better team. Let me see. Ken Bum has him at 174th. Actually, he has North Dakota State slightly better, so I guess my gauge is wrong, at least according to Ken Bum, although I think his numbers are still kind of shifting around a little bit. Tulane, I think there was, I guess the angle here would be, well, they just beat BC. They beat an ACC team, so maybe they'll be a little bit hungover from that, or, it'll be a letdown spot maybe off of that. They're facing Nichols here. Nichols is coming off a decent performance at Oklahoma State, where they only lost by 14. But they're playing another true road game. One of these teams that's in one of these lesser conferences that just schedules all road games early in the season to try to get some win or something there. I don't know. But Tulane's down from a 10-point favorite to a 9.5-point favorite. And it does look really, really easy to lay those points with Tulane. I mean, they're laying below double digits, and they're 4-2 against an 0-5 Nichols team. It looks way too easy to lay it with Tulane, but Tulane's not exactly the greatest basketball program either. So I would take the points, and the number seems to be moving in that direction, down from 10 to 9.5. I don't really want to do it, but I mean, that's not one of my plays, of course. Finally, we'll get into bets, whatever. Throwing up the graphic here. I still need more drops. If I'm even going to continue to do the show, which is questionable, we're going to take NJIT plus the points. I know NJIT is a horrific team. I understand it. They've looked really bad recently. They've regressed. I told you they would because they started the season looking better than they actually are. They're horrible. There's no doubt about that. But this is Eastern Michigan that we're talking about. And Eastern Michigan is laying 14.5. Really? I mean, I don't know. It seems high, but when you look at what Eastern Michigan just did, this is a bad spot, dude. Eastern Michigan just played on the road at Louisville, and they expectedly got blown out. But then they went into Cincinnati, and they won the game as 22.5-point underdogs in a low total type of game, where I think Cincinnati does play all these like kind of low total games. I believe Cincinnati's a fast-paced team, though. It's just that their offense is miserably bad. Cincinnati, I mean, again, they're like St. John's, but nowhere near as good. Like, it's just a bad profile. Like, I don't understand how you can be a fast-tempo team, be really good defensively, but have absolutely zero offense. It makes no sense. Cincinnati, they're just way too lopsided of a profile. But yes, they lost that game outright to Eastern Michigan. And Eastern Michigan is a slower-paced team, 252nd in tempo, according to KenPom. They don't play good offense, and you're asking them to cover a 14.5-point favorite, so none of that looks good. Like, laying huge numbers with a team that's mediocre, barely cracking KenPom's top 200. They play slow, and they play better defense than offense. That's not a great profile, and they're high in his luck index at 39. So he's telling you they've overperformed a bit. And they're coming off that huge upset, so they're in a big letdown spot. I mean, that was a pretty monumental win for that Eastern Michigan program. And now they face NJIT. Are they really going to be excited about that? And after this, they got to turn around and they got to play Butler after this, which is that's a much bigger game, a Big East team. Yeah, I don't think they're going to have enough in the tank here to beat NJIT by margin. I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to lose the game outright, but I think NJIT is going to hang around in this game. I know how bad they are. They also just got blown out by Louisville, but people are also going to look and say, oh my God, NJIT just got blown out by Cincinnati by 27 points, so this is so easy, right? Cincinnati beat NJIT by 27 points, and Eastern Michigan just beat Cincinnati, and you're only asking them to win by 15? Of course that's going to happen. It looks way too easy to do that. I'm not going to fall into that. I'm not going to do it. We're going to take NJIT. I mean, they're going to be embarrassed, man. I mean, come on. Even though it was Louisville, we know Louisville's good. I don't think they're quite as good as 6th in the country, but losing to Louisville, even though it was Louisville, you lose that game by, 57 points? I mean, come on, man. That is embarrassing. You're going to want to come with a better performance after that, and they're stepping way down in class to face Eastern Michigan. And I know Eastern Michigan is also stepping down in class here, but come on, man. Yeah, I think NJIT will hang around in this game, at least enough to cover this number against an Eastern Michigan team. It's really not that good. So that's where we're going to go in that one. I know NJIT is awful. I get it. KenPom has them in like the bottom 20th. They're really high in his luck index. I get all of that. They don't score. I understand. They're bad. But it's all about the spot in this one, man. And yes, they want to play a little bit faster than Eastern Michigan does, but that's okay because Eastern Michigan, actually, you can get 16 on this game now, so fuck it. We'll increase it to 16 because I'm doing the show right now. It'll be the better number that you can get on it right now. We'll get plus 16 on it. Or it might have to be 15.5, but whatever it is. I'll update it in the show description. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I have to say about it, but yeah, a slow-paced team that's going to be controlling the pace. Asking him to cover a huge number like that in a sandwich spot. Yeah, we're going to fade it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to continue the show. I really do not. Dude, This is going to be a 2.5-hour show here. The board is massively overwhelming. NJIT, I don't even know what, the New Georgia Institute of Technology. Dude, FanDuel, you got to get more books, Jeffrey. FanDuel is just screwing you with the extra juice there, and they don't give you another option. Like, there's no reason to have to lay juice on 16.5. Like, you should be able to just, like, find a book that's offering you, like, 16 or 15.5 even at just minus 110. Like, I would do that. I'm not going to pay minus 114 for that bullshit for a point that's in, like, a dead number range that really doesn't matter much. Next up, all right, another play here. We're going to take Charleston Southern. Here's another fairly big underdog for you. Plus 17. It might be higher than that now. Let me see. Actually, you can get probably 18.5, 19 on this now. I knew this line was going up, so I was like, it's probably going to get higher than that. Charleston Southern plus 18.5, 19, whatever. We're fading South Carolina here. This is a big game for Charleston Southern, dude, because they're in South Carolina, so they're going to step it up in this little brother, big brother situation, and because it's an SEC team, but I think it's just even more of a motivator for a lesser, team in the state of South Carolina. They want to beat the University of South Carolina. South Carolina is also not good, as I said. I mean, sure, they're an SEC team. They're better than Charleston Southern, obviously, but they're not a good SEC team. And South Carolina is coming off a run of games where they played Butler and Northwestern close, both as underdogs, I believe. Now they're coming off that, and they got to play this weak Charleston Southern team. They know they can win this game without covering, too. So I just don't think you're going to get a huge effort here from South Carolina. They were playing these games in West Virginia, and they took Northwestern basically to the limit. And Northwestern's a Big Ten team. They're 5-1. They've been in and out of the tournament recently. So that was a pretty big game for South Carolina, man. They almost pulled off the moderate upset of like 4 or 5 points in that game. Now they got Charleston Southern, and coming up next in a few days, they got Virginia Tech, which is going to be a much bigger game for South Carolina. So it's a sandwich spot. I think they overlooked Charleston Southern. I think you're going to get extra effort from Charleston Southern because they are in South Carolina. I know they're bad. I know they have 2 really, really bad losses to Alabama A&M and Lindenwood, and like half of their wins are against, 2 of their 5 wins are against non-D1 teams. I get it, but they at least have some momentum right now. They got a couple of Division I wins out of the way. Now they have a Division II win last, so they're not going to be over-exerted coming into this one. They'll just have a little bit of confidence. They'll show up in this one, I would imagine. I think they can get within the number. South Carolina, I mean, they play ugly offensively, dude, just like their football team. Although, actually, their offense is better than their defense, according to KenPom, but they're not good on either side of the ball, really, and they also play a somewhat slow tempo. I know he has them low in his luck index, so he's saying they're underperforming right now, but, I mean, they're 4-2, so how underperformant could they really be right now when he has them at 88th in the country, which is not, they're not an overwhelming team. They're not really expected to make the tournament or anything like that. I know Charleston Southern's higher in the luck index. They faced a weak schedule. They want to play faster, but again, that's okay because you're looking at a South Carolina team that's a slower paced team that needs to cover a huge number. I like to fade that. And by the way, both these totals are low in these games. So this is at 150.5. I mean, that's not high. So I'm all right with taking the points there. The other total is lower in the NJIT game. It's at 141. Very low total in that game. So, again, taking the points, a little bit of a better idea when it's a lower total. So, yeah, FanDuel is cucking you. Yeah, plus 17.5 at a good price there. That's good. But, yeah, again, sign up for some more books. All right, Colorado State, South Florida. In the Bahamas. I believe is this a championship in whatever this is in the battle for Atlanta? No, it's a 5th place game. What am I thinking? Both teams won yesterday is what I was thinking, but I guess both teams also have a loss already. Colorado State beat Wichita yesterday. It's a decent win. I mean, Wichita, not a horrible team this year, it's looking like. South Florida had an escape, though, against Western Kentucky. I know they had to play into overtime. Sometimes you play that extra period, having to go play the next day. It's a little bit difficult, but they took a scare, man, and there's no way they should have been anywhere near as bad as that. So I kind of like South Florida to bounce back in this one and play better. They flipped from a 1-point dog to a 1.5-point favorite. That is my opinion in that game. I would lean to South Florida in that one. Out in Palm Springs, we do have Washington and Colorado. Washington had that nice win and cover, which I thought they would after that ugly game against Southern. Like I said, they beat Nevada pretty easily yesterday. They do have UCLA coming up next, but I don't know if they're really going to overlook Colorado here. This is the championship in this tournament, so I expect both teams will probably show up for this. And they're both power conference teams, so why not? Colorado had a nice upset win over San Francisco, though. Although I don't know if will they consider that to be an upset in their own minds? I don't know. I think Washington had the easier go of it, though. Yesterday, they had the game that required them to exert less energy, winning as a favorite. They are the favorite here. They are the better team, although the money's coming in on Colorado. I don't really agree with it, though. Washington down from 4 to 3.5, 78% of tickets, 98% of the cash, taking it with Colorado. In a situation like this, I think I would go with the better team and the team that's not off of an upset, and that is Washington. So I would probably lean towards Washington, laying the points there. Not a strong opinion. For Jeffrey, University of Pennsylvania is hosting some thing in Philadelphia still. They're in a Philly cheesesteak sandwich here, man, because they're coming off wins over St. Joe's and Drexel, who are both Philly area teams. Those are big wins for Pennsylvania. I mean, I don't know. I assume they definitely consider themselves to be a little brother to St. Joe's. Maybe not to Drexel, but they just blew out Drexel on the road. Now they're coming back and they're facing a non-Philadelphia team that somehow is playing in this tournament, Merrimack, who are fairly new to Division I, and they're in northern Massachusetts. Don't really know how they're in this Philadelphia thing, but they are. Penn might just overlook them, man, because Penn has to face LaSalle tomorrow, and that's another Philadelphia area school there. So they're in a Philly sandwich. They might overlook this Merrimack team that hasn't been good to start the season. But Merrimack, I mean, they face some pretty decent teams. I mean, they face Auburn. Florida is more than decent. They played South Dakota State. Those are not easy games. So this Merrimack team, they're decently tested, and they're stepping down in class after a Florida game. So even though they got blown out in that game, this should be easier for them to cover as an underdog. I would agree with the Merrimack side. Pennsylvania is already down from 5 to 3, so you're getting less value on it, but I would probably still take the points. 50% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Merrimack. So pretty strong market read on Merrimack in that one. I agree with that. Ivy League, even though you're a Philadelphia guy, I don't really agree with that. There's no way that they don't step up their game against the other local schools. I mean, every team does. There's no way that there's some outlier that just doesn't do that. Oh, you think if Penn faces Villanova, you think they don't consider that to be a big game? I've won on taking Penn. I think I won last year with Penn upsetting Villanova. Or maybe that was 2 years ago. I definitely had a win on them in the recent the last couple of years where they actually upset Villanova outright. So no, I don't buy that. Don't buy it. All right, next, we're going to have another play here. It is going to be, we're going to lay the points with Wisconsin, -5.5 in this San Diego thing. You know I'm going to do this. We're going to fade TCU. I know this is the conference, or this is the championship game in this tournament, whatever the hell it is, the Rady Children's Invitational in San Diego. TCU just upset Florida, though, man. I mean, come on. Florida are the returning champs. Do you really think they care about winning this tournament that everybody's going to forget about in 2 days? No, I don't really think so. I mean, sure, ideally they'll want to step it up to face Wisconsin because Wisconsin's a pretty good team, but beating Florida is a huge deal, man. I mean, big game. They pulled off a massive upset. They had to make multiple comebacks in the game. They pulled off the upset as double-digit underdogs. I don't really see them having much left in the tank here. Wisconsin had an easy go of it yesterday against Providence. They're going to be the team that had to exert a lot less energy yesterday, even though I think they played later in the day than Florida did yesterday. But still, I don't think that totally evens it out, man. We're going to lay it with Wisconsin here. TCU, I think they also look a little bit better than they are right now, although this line's already climbing. It's up to 6.5. Hopefully you can get it lower than 7. Try to lay the 6.5 on this would be my recommendation here. 7 being a key number, so Yeah, that's what I would do here. Wisconsin is the better team. This is also not your father's Wisconsin. They don't actually play slow. They play somewhat fast, and they have a good offense. That's a good profile for a team that you want to cover as a favorite. And they're balanced. I mean, they're okay defensively as well. They're the better team all around over TCU, though, man, I would say. Actually, Ken Bum has TCU slightly better defensively, but Wisconsin way, way better offensively. And TCU plays kind of a mid-tempo style as well. Yes, I know he has them as underrated right now as far as his luck index, but this is just a bad spot, man. And I'm not sure that I buy that TCU is overrated. I don't know. I think they looked a little bit better than they actually are against Florida and Michigan. They're probably better than we thought they were to start the season. I know that they got Jamie Dixon. They're well coached, whatever. But yeah, I think this is a bad spot for them. I like Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin gets it done. Yeah, and they profile as a decent favorite. And the team with the significantly better offense, and the defenses are similar. That is what I think about that game. Yeah, I mean, they have a rival in Princeton. Teams have multiple rivals, though. Like, I still don't buy that they don't get up for games against other schools in their area. Again, every team in college does. So, Xavier against Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. Xavier coming off a win over West Virginia. That's a pretty big win. I mean, these teams are geographically close. But also West Virginia's a Big 12 team. Xavier played pretty close against Georgia in the prior game as well. So pretty big games that Xavier's coming off of here. Could be a little bit in a letdown spot here, man. Maybe not having a ton in the tank here, and you're going to be asking them to cover a big number. I'm still not sold on Xavier being any good this year, really, because, again, they lost Sean Miller, and now they have Richard Pitino there. Right.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
Have to do the Pitino drop every time. Not Rick Pitino, but Richard. But Texas A&M CC, they just got a win against a Division II team, which I think is good because they were losing, and that'll break their loss streak. I know their only wins are against non-Division I teams so far. I get it, but their schedule's been pretty difficult, man. They face SMU, Kansas, Oklahoma State all on the road, and we had a win here on the show, I believe, on Tarleton State against them, which was a game where they played closer, but I just thought it was a really bad spot for them because I think they're actually fairly close against SMU, so yeah, we got the win on that one, but it's been a difficult schedule for A&M CC, man. I think they're one of the better teams in the Southland. I mean, that's been the case in recent years, so, and now that they broke that long-ish loss streak with a win, I think that'll propel them forward a little bit. I would take the points with A&M CC here. It's not a play for me, but Xavier's down from 16 to 15.5. Low total as well, so yeah, I would take the points. ESPN at night has Miami and Georgetown. This game, I mean, both these teams seem to be maybe somewhat on the rise. They're two power conference teams that have been down a little bit over the last, well, for Georgetown, it's been a long time. For Miami, it's been a couple of years. Miami, coming off a 10-point loss to BYU. I mean, it was a big game for them. How close was the game? I don't know, because ESPN doesn't show us the game flow. Oh, wait, they do now. I mean, Miami just kind of, they had the lead early in the second half, and then they just kind of faded away, so it wasn't really that close. But still kind of a big deal facing BYU. Georgetown coming off an overtime loss to Dayton. But that was a decently big game, a reasonably big game. I think it was a close line in the game, and Georgetown also took their first loss of the season, so I always talk about how that can hang you over a little bit. And they had to play that extra overtime period yesterday. So do I want to do anything with this game? No, I do not. Miami is getting the money. I mean, I guess I'm not going to really disagree with it when there's not really much of a situation to rely on here. Miami's up from 4 to 5. 64% of tickets, 96% of the cash on them. I don't think I'm going to disagree that they're the better team. So I would agree with it. That's the way I would lean slightly. Wichita and Western Kentucky. I think Western Kentucky probably is done now after that, man. I mean, two big games where they played close against Vandy, and then they somehow were able to put in an effort again yesterday where My analysis is they were going to be hung over off that Vandy game. They played well again as an underdog against South Florida. I really do not see them having much left in the tank here for this consolation game or whatever in the Bahamas against Wichita. Wichita did have a couple of close games as well, though, against St. Mary's and Colorado State, and those are pretty big games too. So I don't love that, but I still think the spot is a bit worse for Western Kentucky, and they're the lesser team, so I would lean to Wichita. They're up from 5 to 6 here. 60% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them. I don't disagree with the Wichita side there. Stanford is facing St. Louis in Palm Springs, so I think the location helps Stanford a little bit, but St. Louis has been out in California for a while now too. But Stanford is, of course, also coming off that. Actually, my mistake. They actually already bounced back from that loss to Seattle. They beat Minnesota in this tournament, so they're actually coming off a nice win over a Big Ten team. So my mistake. Maybe that will hang them over a little bit. I don't know. But St. Louis played a really big game yesterday, too, against a pretty good Santa Clara team. And St. Louis escaped that game with a win. Well, I don't want to say they escaped. They were a small favorite. I thought Santa Clara would get that one done. I mean, I thought the location would help them. I'm not quite sure that St. Louis is actually the better team over them. I don't know which way I would lean in this game, to be honest. Both teams are kind of... they're coming in similar situations, let's just say. St. Louis is actually favored. So the odds makers are telling you St. Louis, despite playing in California, they're actually better than Stanford by enough that they're a 4-point favorite, although it's down from 4.5. 53% of tickets on St. Louis, 81% of the cash on Stanford. So the money coming in on Stanford, oh, man. I don't know if I really necessarily want to agree with that. I don't know, man. I mean, being out in California does help, I guess. But, again, St. Louis is already out there now. I guess Stanford, I don't know, man. I don't know which team is coming off the more, the game that required more effort. I mean, it's a very difficult handicap. I guess I'll lean towards Stanford just because the money is saying it, but I don't have an opinion on it, really. Clemson's facing Alabama A&M. Clemson, I would say they're probably in they're in a sandwich spot here, man. I mean, I don't quite want to do this because Alabama A&M is a horrible team, and it's a pretty non-competitive matchup here, but Clemson is a slow-paced team this year, so they don't profile as a team that's going to be good as a huge favorite. Clemson coming off 2 big games in a row. They beat West Virginia and Georgia, I believe, in overtime. That's a big win, man, in the Shriners Children's Charleston Classic, whatever the hell. Big win for them, man, against Georgia, better than Georgetown in overtime. Huge game, and now they face Alabama A&M, and they have to turn around after this and play Alabama and BYU. So those are bigger games, man. This is a game, I think they're going to get caught in a sandwich spot. Alabama A&M is awful, though. And I don't think they're as good as their 3-1 record looks either. I mean, they've played basically nobody. Although their only loss is to Indiana, which is expected, but that's their only game where they've stepped up in class on the road. They lost really badly. Will they be able to hang with Clemson here? Maybe. I mean, that's the way I would lean in this game. Something just feels a little bit off about it to me. Although, I don't know, man. It's a low total. Do we want to add this one? I don't know. It's a low total. Clemson down from 28 to 27.5 here. Total's 141, which is definitely low. Clemson, they play slow, and I don't think they're quite as good as they were last year, man, even though they actually do have decent balance. Ken Baum has them in the middle in luck index. They play slow, which, again, doesn't profile well as a big favorite. For Alabama A&M, I mean, Ken Baum has Alabama A&M as the luckiest team in the country, though, at number 1 in luck. I'll stay off of it, even just for that reason. But they do also like to play slow. I would take the points in this one, but I'm gonna leave it alone. I'll leave it off my card. Georgia Tech and DePaul. I mean, technically, this is a power conference matchup. Georgia Tech, one of the lesser ACC teams. DePaul, one of the lesser Big 12 teams. Both teams coming off some kind of easy-ish wins, although Georgia Tech didn't really play well against Georgia Southern. And I thought they would bounce back. I think Jeffrey got this one right with West Georgia, barely. I thought Georgia Tech, after that Georgia Southern game, would play better. And I think they could have covered in that game, man. It was like right on the line there. And West Georgia just snuck in within that number. Could argue that Georgia Tech is in a little bit of a look-ahead spot, looking towards Mississippi State here. Maybe they overlooked DePaul because they've been so bad over the recent years. This is in the Emerald Coast Classic, which is in Destin, Florida, wherever the hell that is, somewhere in Florida. Yeah, I mean, slight lean to DePaul for me in this one, but I don't love it. They flipped from a 1-point dog to a 1.5-point favorite. 98% of the cash on them, 50% of the tickets are evenly split. We got SMU and Mississippi State. At Mississippi State, I expect both teams to show up here, but Mississippi State's coming off a really bad performance against New Orleans. Mississippi State almost lost the game, which I think is why I faded New Orleans after that. Mississippi State was coming off that tournament in Kansas City, though, where they almost beat New Mexico, had to play Kansas State before that. So I think they were in kind of a sandwich spot because they did have SMU coming up after that. So I think they didn't pay attention. They almost got caught. That's why they didn't cover there. SMU, I mean, they haven't been tested, man. Their biggest game was against Butler. And yeah, they won the game, but they're having to step up in class to face Mississippi State here, man. So I like Mississippi State in this one. SMU's a 1-point favorite, so the odds makers are telling you they're actually the better team. Mississippi State a bit down this year, but I don't love it. And this is also SMU's first true road game this deep into the season. I don't like that either. And Mississippi State, again, I kind of like Mississippi State here. And nobody's going to want them because who's going to want a 3-3 Mississippi State team against a 7-0 SMU team? Pick the winner. Nobody's going to want that. Mississippi State's coming up that ugly game against New Orleans where Mississippi State barely covered. They almost lost the game. They had to make a huge comeback here and win it in overtime. And this game was on the 24th, so they've had a few days off after that, but they are staying at home. You know what? I like Mississippi State in this one. I think we're going to do this. Let me see. What does Ken Palm have for this? He's got Mississippi State. They're definitely down this year. Mid-tempo team, middle in the luck index. They're fairly balanced, at least top 100 in both offense and defense. Top 100 overall. He does have SMU top 50. He has them top 50 offensively, outside of the top 50 defensively. Faster tempo, so Mississippi State might be able to slow them down a little bit, although they're not exactly a slow team. SMU higher in the luck index here. I mean, Mississippi State is clearly more battle-tested, though, which is why they're 3-3. I mean, they lost to Iowa State, Kansas State, New Mexico. I mean, those are better teams. Those might all be better teams than everybody that SMU has faced. I mean, how good is Butler? Ken Baum has Butler at 46th. So I guess they're better than New Mexico. But, yeah, that's about it. So, you know what? Yeah, I kind of like this one. Let me see, what can we get for a number here? You could probably get Mississippi State as a home dog here. Let me see. Yeah, Mississippi State can get them at... let me see. Yeah, you can get them at +1 right now. It looks like is the best. Money line. There's no money line underdog price for them. +1 seems to make sense. You can get +1 at like a normal price. So at least what I'm seeing at Caesars. All right, yeah. We're going to do it. Destin is in the Panhandle. All right, good to know. Interesting. All right, we're adding Mississippi State. I know I'm adding more plays on the fly. I know I have to do my stupid Instagram videos. Dude, this was so much easier when I just didn't do these videos. Sorry, but that's just the case. We're on Mississippi State. It's going to be a very Mississippi State heavy day, so now you know what I'm doing. My last play in college basketball is here. We're going to take the points with Pitt. You can get it 5.5. I snagged a 5.5 earlier, or I saw that you could snag it. I think you could still do it. Ohio State, it looks like they're getting the public action, so the line might still be just hovering around that number. 67% of tickets on them, 68% of the cash coming in on Pitt. This is a low total in this one, so I like that as well for taking the points. We're taking them at home with Pitt here. We're going to do this. Ohio State, they're in a bad spot here, man. I don't think Ohio State is exactly great. I mean, people consider themselves to be a big name. I mean, this is not football, though. Ken Baum does have them outside of the top 25. I mean, he has them kind of borderline at 30th right now. Yeah, they're a balanced team, but he does have them high in the luck index, like 74th, and they have not played a difficult schedule so far. They're in the bottom 6 strength of schedule in all of D1, according to Ken Baum, so they have not really been tested. Their biggest test was against Notre Dame, and they almost lost the game. And this is going to be their first true road game, which is never really that easy. Pitt, they're going to get up for it, man. And Pitt, they don't look good, as far as their record of 4-3, but they're 4-1 at home, and they've at least been more battle tested. I mean, they lost to West Virginia. West Virginia seems to be on the way up again. They lost to UCF, but now they're coming off a kind of inexplicable loss, man. Maybe it was because that UCF game kind of sent them spiraling a little bit, but now Pitt's coming off losing to Quinnipiac. I mean, come on, man. Pitt was 12.5-point favorites in this game. It was a low total game, and they lost the game outright. That's pretty bad. Quinnipiac shot absurdly in this game, though. 57% from the field and 65% from 3. It's like that's the type of game there's just nothing you can even do about it. Like, you're not going to win the game when a team shoots like that. It's just a complete outlier. That's just the way that it is. Pitt was the better team in the rebounding department, which is more of a sustainable metric, so I like that. I don't know. Did we take UCF off of that Quinnipiac game? I don't know, because UCF didn't actually cover, so I hope we didn't, but that would have been a fade spot for Quinnipiac, but I think I lay it off of it just because I thought maybe they'd still get up for UCF, but this is a spot where I think Pitt does show up in this one. And for Ohio State, it's not really about the spot being bad for Ohio State necessarily, except for the fact that it is a first true road game, and they do start conference play next against Northwestern and Illinois, so maybe they just don't pay as much attention to Pitt here. And Ohio State did just put up 113 points, man, winning by 53 against Mount St. Mary's. So I think when you do that to anybody, you're going to be feeling a little bit cocky coming into the next game. And Ohio State, they had not put up over 100 points since their first game against IU Indy. And we know how fast IU Indy likes to play and how little defense they play. So Ohio State is not exactly that team that we saw in those two games. So I don't think they're going to top 100 points in this game against Pitt. Let's just put it that way. Pitt plus the points. If I stop, I'll put them in Patreon. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, man. This takes a lot out of me, and yesterday was unbelievably frustrating. And then I'm looking at this board today, and I'm like, come on, man. I have to talk about all of this. It's just, we have a game going on in Quebec, between a bunch of New York teams, I guess. Colgate is playing Albany, but Colgate's coming off a pretty difficult game where they took Cornell to within 1 point, I guess, at Cornell. I think Colgate probably considers Cornell to be a bigger brother. I think all these teams are in upstate New York. That was a pretty big game for Colgate. I mean, Cornell, they're usually kind of one of the better teams in the Ivy. So that was a big game for them. So maybe they'll be a little bit hungover here against Albany. Albany likely to step up against Colgate. And Albany coming off a loss to Siena, who's another one of the teams in that area in upstate New York there. Colgate's all the way up from a 6-point favorite to a 7.5-point favorite, but I would fade them. I would take the points with Albany. The total's also pretty low at 142.5, so don't have a whole lot else to say about it, but yeah. It's just weird that these teams are playing in Canada. We have BYU playing Dayton in Florida. BYU, 9th in the country. I mean, I think they're slightly overrated. I mean, I just always think that BYU is overrated. That's just my thing. BYU coming off a couple of big wins. Huge games, actually. 3 huge games against UConn in Boston, almost coming back and pulling off the upset. Then smashing Wisconsin back at BYU, even though I thought Wisconsin was in a revenge spot, and we took a loss in that one. And then BYU beat Miami here in Florida, I believe, so that's a pretty big win as well. Coming off all that, I don't know, man. It could be a little bit of a letdown scenario here. Although Dayton is coming off beating Georgetown in overtime. That's a decent win as well. against a Big Ten team, although nothing like what BYU just had to do. Although Dayton did have to beat Marquette in overtime a couple of games before that. And then I believe we got a win on NC Central in the sandwich spot between the two. NC Central covered. So, I mean, this is not a game I'm going to touch, but I would probably take the points with Dayton here. This is going to be a game where I think it's also probably a contrast of styles, where I think if you like BYU, you probably like the over. Dayton plays slow, and they're probably correlated to an under. 76% of tickets, 51% of the cash on BYU as a 10-point favorite. Total's down to 150.5. So I think, probably. It looks like Dayton getting some of the money there. I would take the points with Dayton. And then we do have Santa Clara and Minnesota here in that Palm Springs thing. Santa Clara might actually be the better team, but they did take their first loss of the season. I talk about how sometimes that'll hang you over. A big game against St. Louis, big loss, but will they still step it up for a Big Ten team like Minnesota? Maybe they will. Minnesota coming off a close loss as well to Stanford, so not exactly in a great spot, I wouldn't say. Santa Clara is up to a 5.5-point favorite, so the odds makers are telling you Santa Clara is the better team, but the money seems to be coming in against them. 80% of the tickets, 61% of the cash on them, so the money is fading them. Low total at 139.5, so I guess I would agree with the money and taking the points with Minnesota. I think they will probably slow the game down, but it's interesting that you have a West Coast Conference team being the better team over a Big Ten team. We're seeing lines like that with Santa Clara and San Francisco this year. So those teams are better than maybe they look. Let's go to hockey. Poutine Bowl. Dude, I like poutine, by the way. I mean, I don't know. Some people seem to shit on it, but I like it. There are a lot of things you can do with it. I like the classic poutine. We have hockey basically all day today. There's a lot of afternoon action. There is a game at noon between Tampa Bay and Detroit. It is interesting that Tampa Bay is a favorite on the road at Detroit, so odds makers are telling you Tampa is actually the better team, and they do have the better record now because they've been on fire recently, and they're actually good on the road, too, at 6-2-2. Detroit's okay at home, 8-5-1. Tampa Bay, they're just on a roll right now. They just beat Calgary, which is not really a game that I think they're really going to care about. I don't think they're going to be overconfident or anything like that. Starting a road trip, they should be focused here. They did play Detroit earlier, I think. Did they? I thought they did. Maybe they didn't. No, they did. They lost at Detroit in October, so I guess maybe there is some revenge aspect to this game. But it is a positive spot for Tampa because they're starting a road trip with momentum, too. So I talk about how that is a positive spot. You usually are focused. The momentum can carry through. Detroit's in a bounce-back spot, though, man. I mean, they just took a horrendously ugly loss to this bad Nashville team. Coming off a big game against New Jersey where they fell just short. So I think they fell into a sandwich spot. So they're in a bounce-back spot, too. Both teams are in good spots. I don't really have a strong opinion here, but the money's coming in on Tampa, although they dropped from -124 to -117. Looks like they have 52% of the cash on them. 57% of the tickets are on Detroit. So the money is saying Tampa. There is a reason why they're a road favorite here. I won't really disagree with it, but I don't feel strongly about it either. Red Wings are dysfunctional. Yeah, that is what I'm being told. I don't really know. I don't know anything about like the personnel or the. I should look into it more. Because I do kind of have a dysfunction angle in one of my football plays today. But, that game, I just don't really pay attention to the hockey. I need to figure out when the dad trips are, man. Because that used to be a huge angle that I would use in hockey. And now I just don't even know when they're happening anymore. Like, they might not even be happening anymore. COVID might have killed them. I don't know. Rangers at my Bruins at 1 p.m. Eastern here. Rangers got a win for us the other day. Big win at Carolina. Could be a bit of a letdown spot after that. They got Tampa after this. Do they overlook Boston here? I don't know, because I think, is this a divisional matchup or is it not? No, I think New York's in the Metro, right? Hilariously, the Rangers are in last place in their division, even though they have more wins than regulation losses now, which is ridiculous. But will they show up for Boston? I don't know, man. It does look like it's a letdown spot. I will say that, although Tampa Bay is not in their division either. I think Tampa Bay is in Boston's division, but still. Rangers, I mean, Tampa Bay is hot, and they do have to play, Tampa Bay is hot, and the Rangers do have to face them tomorrow. So I don't know. The spot's not exactly great for the Rangers here, although they're definitely good on the road. Bruins, they're in third place in their division, even though their record isn't that good. Bruins are returning home from a road trip, though. I know they're already back on the East Coast. They got to win against the Islanders, which I didn't think they were going to win that game. Now they're in the actual return home spot, though. They haven't been back to Boston, so I talk about how that's not a good spot when you return home from a road trip. You can be distracted. You have to get back to home life. They've been away for over a week. They went to the Pacific Coast, so it's not a good spot for the Bruins. Rangers still good on the road, 10-4-1 on the road, although the Bruins have been better at home than on the road. They're 8-4-0 at home, solid home record for the Bruins. I mean, I probably lean with the market here to the Rangers. I think that return home spot is a bad situation, man. Like, that's worse than the letdown spot I think that the Rangers are in. Lean to the Rangers here. There's also a reason why the team with the worst record is favored on the road. Odds makers still disrespecting the Bruins. Money is coming in on the Rangers, but you could have gotten them at a better price earlier at -124. They're -142 now. 68% of the tickets and 76% of the cash on the Rangers. So the money is coming in on the Rangers side. I don't disagree with it, but you got to pay a little bit more for it now. If I was going to do it, I would still probably do that money line, but I don't know. Flyers already did the dad trip. When was it? Dude, I need to know this information. Like, you look it up online, you can't even find the info about when it's happening. You got to tell me, man. When was that? And did they win? The dad trip is a huge motivational spot. I need to know when those are because you're usually getting that team at a cheap price because they're away. Rich kids born in January, yeah. They're all rich white kids pretty much. All right, I don't want to talk about every one of these games, man. I just don't. New Jersey at Buffalo is close to being a play for me. New Jersey, they're coming off an overtime win, but it was against St. Louis. But I don't know, man. I mean, it was still overtime 2 days ago. But this is a weird single-game road trip against Buffalo. And New Jersey has a bigger game up next against Philadelphia tomorrow back at home because those two teams don't like each other. And New Jersey just lost to Philadelphia on November 22nd at Philly, and it was kind of an embarrassing 6-3 loss. So I think New Jersey they're in a look-ahead spot here, man. So I think they might get caught. I think Buffalo might be able to get this one. Buffalo, we faded them in their last game against Pittsburgh, and we did get the win there. Buffalo was in a letdown spot coming off the game against Carolina. We got the win. They're a bit more rested because they did have a couple days off before that. They're coming back home, but only from Pittsburgh to Buffalo. Very short trip there. I expect them to show up against New Jersey, so this one's not quite strong enough, but I like Buffalo in this game. They've flipped from a +101 dog to a -112 favorite, so the money is agreeing with me here. 53% of tickets, 56% of the cash on Buffalo. Yeah, again, obviously I agree with that one, but we'll see. They did win a mom's trip. I don't think that's the mom's trip would be a massive distraction. Like, that would be awful. The dad's trip is good because it's, you get to, you want to impress your dad. Like, the mom's trip is going to be a huge distraction. It's not actually happening, I assume. I assume you're joking. Philadelphia, I know it's always a 2-day trip, but I got to know this information, man. Was it, what was it? Was it St. Louis, Dallas? Is that what it was? It was probably this trip, so they got the win. Dude, I faded them. Fuck, come on, man. You got to tell me when it's a fucking dad trip, because I faded them in that first game on it against St. Louis. I think this was it, but it was a horrible spot for Philadelphia otherwise. I would have at least probably just not given it out as a play, but St. Louis was up 5-3 with 3 minutes left in that game. I'm fucking pissed, dude. But Philadelphia was coming off that game against Edmonton, so I didn't like the spot at all. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that was a play for me. And then they got wrecked in the other game on the dad trip on a back-to-back against Dallas, assuming that was that trip. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to talk about Philly in a bit. Gladwell did a study on it. That is pretty weird, actually, how that is the case. I don't know, man. Just guys that love the cold. Buffalo, yeah, I mean, that's close to making my card. Come on. There's no way. A mom's trip, please. Dude, I have to know when these things are happening. The dad trip is solid. The dad trip is like a dude's rock type of thing, man. And like, it's a huge motivational angle because the guys, they get to take their dads along and they get to play well. It's like you're back in like high school, you know what I mean? Playing in front of your, like you get to play for your dad. The mom's trip is going to be a distraction. I think it's going to be a negative. Because your mom is just going to be like nagging you about shit, whereas your dad isn't going to do that. Like your dad's just going to pump you up. You know what I mean? Dudes rock, like I said. What other games am I going to talk about? Oh, Philadelphia and the Islanders. Oh, that's one of my plays, and I was just talking about them anyway. So we're on the Islanders money line at minus 140 here. This will be a play. If you want to, if the price starts getting a little bit too high, usually my cutoff is about minus 140. So if you want to play it in a different way, you could do that. The money seems to be now disagreeing with me, so this is what I have to say about the market here. 56% of tickets, 50% of the cash on the Islanders. They did move up from minus 135 to minus 145. Maybe this means the money line will come back down a little bit. In the minus 140 something range, money line I think still makes sense, but I do not like the spot for Philadelphia. I mean, first of all, they just beat Florida, and I know they did that already this year. I think they played Florida 3 times already, but they've lost both games after playing Florida so far. I mean, they were in a Florida sandwich early in the season, and they lost to Carolina, although they played well. They took them into overtime, but then they beat Florida after that, and then they got smacked by Winnipeg in the game after that, 5-2. So Philadelphia is 0-2. Coming off of games against Florida, and they're 0-1 and had one of their worst games coming off the win against Florida. Now they're coming off beating Florida again. They got to face the Islanders here, coming back up to the New York area. And tomorrow they got that game against New Jersey, which I said is a big game, even though Philadelphia did beat them not that long ago. Again, I mean, Jeffrey could correct me if I'm wrong, but the New Jersey fan base is split, where you basically have South Jersey is like the Philadelphia crowd, and North Jersey, I mean, it's kind of same, like it's a Philly-New York split basically, but like North Jersey, some of those people like the New York teams, typically the Rangers, but then the New Jersey fan base is up there in North Jersey as well, and there's a divide in the state of New Jersey. Big game, I think. So I like the Islanders here, man. I think it's kind of a sandwich spot. It's possible Philly overlooks the Islanders a bit, even though the Islanders are ahead of them in their division. Again, you can only focus on so many games, right? So, yeah, I like the Islanders here. New Jersey is also a divisional opponent, and they're just a better opponent. So, might be that look-ahead spot there, and because of the rivalry. But also, the Islanders are coming off an ugly loss, staying at home. They're going to want to split this homestand, man, or get it back to 2-2 because it's a long homestand. They continue playing at home after this, but they're 1-2 on the homestand right now. They're coming off an ugly loss where they only scored 1 goal. I know the Islanders haven't been scoring recently. 3 games in a row, they've only scored 1 goal each, but I think they're going to be able to score more than that against a Philly team that's, let's just say, questionable defensively and has questionable goaltending. And the Islanders focus more on defense, so I don't think that's a great matchup necessarily for Philadelphia either. So I like the Islanders here, man. That's play 1 in hockey. Lindros Bane, Brindamore's wife, and how do you, is that Touche? It's Touche, right? Because Touche. Did he say Touche after he knocked him out? Tocchet knocked him out. Yeah, correct. South Jersey is Flyers. Yeah, North Jersey is the Devils. Yeah, I don't like the market read starting to disagree with me on that, but I like the Islanders. I really don't like the spot for Philly. We have Ottawa at St. Louis. I don't know if I have a ton to say about this. St. Louis is coming off a couple of difficult losses to the Rangers and New Jersey in overtime against New Jersey, and they're returning home from a road trip. So this is a pretty bad spot, man, for St. Louis. They've been on the road for over a week, and I know I talk about that. When a team returns home from a road trip, they tend to be a bit distracted. It's a bad spot. They went up to Eastern Canada. They were out on the East Coast. Now they're coming back. They do have a conference game up tomorrow against Utah. Possible they overlook this out-of-conference Ottawa team, even though Ottawa's been playing decent. But Ottawa, I know they're in the middle of a road trip here, but they're having to come out of the Pacific time zone to St. Louis, and they just beat Vegas in a shootout, and they have Dallas next. So this was like a sandwich spot that Ottawa is in here. So I just can't do it. Both teams are in terrible spots. This is a complete stay away from me. I think the spot is probably worse for St. Louis. I do think the return home spot is the worst of the spots, but Ottawa up for minus 115 and minus 116, 74% of tickets, 76% of the cash on them. I mean, slight lean to Ottawa, I guess, for that reason, but it's horrible spot for both teams. Can't get involved in the side there. Usually when I see situations set up like that, I lean towards an over. The total dropped a little bit, I guess, to 5.5. It wasn't a significant move, though. Looks like the actual money might be on the over. 89% of tickets, 96% of the cash on the over. I'm not going to disagree with an over in that one. Like I said, I mean, that is probably my preferred approach in that game. Dirty Sock, what's up, man? I started early again. I didn't even think I was going to do the show at all. I was, pretty much contemplating, bridge jumping last night. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on the show. I saved my NFL Week 2 video, by the way. It got taken down this many weeks later for who knows what. I don't know if people were reporting me or what, but it might have been an automatic YouTube thing. But I appealed it, and I won the appeal, and they restored the video. Because they took it down for promoting gambling that's not legal in my state, which I wasn't. I went and I looked at the video, and at that time, I was just talking about the dildo props in the WNBA, which I think were legal at certain sports books. And then I was talking about the look-ahead lines, which I was just looking at CBS to talk about the look-ahead lines. So I don't know. But we're back up, baby. All right. We have Montreal and Vegas. I'll talk about it because it's a fairly big game, but both teams are pretty solid. Vegas, they returned home. They took a loss to Ottawa. And a lot of times I talk about when a team returns home from a road trip, they get caught in a distraction spot. They tend to play better, bounce back in the next game. Maybe they will do that here. So it's a somewhat positive spot for Vegas. Montreal coming in from elevation after beating Utah. And they do have Colorado tomorrow. Will they really overlook Vegas, though? I don't really think so, but I don't know. I think the spot sets up better for Vegas to me, but the money's disagreeing. Vegas is up from minus 180 to minus 184. 51% of the tickets are on them. 63% of the cash coming in on Montreal. So the money's on Montreal. I don't really agree with it, though, so we'll see what happens there. LA and Anaheim is a big game between the two kind of rivals that are down the street from each other. And again, this is a game where the odds makers are telling you not to buy into Anaheim because LA is a favorite on the road. Although both teams actually at this point have similar records. And remember, LA has been basically the Rangers of the West. LA has been really good on the road and really terrible at home. Although here, it's like something's got to give because LA is really good on the road and Anaheim's good at home. And both teams are really close to each other. So what gives in this game, I don't know. LA is already up from minus 113 to minus 130, so the odds makers are telling you LA is the better team. 67% of tickets, only 65% of the cash on LA, though. This is a tricky handicap, man, all around. We faded Anaheim on Wednesday, and they lost to Vancouver. We got the win there. Kind of an ugly loss. I thought it was a bad spot because Anaheim had just beaten Vegas, and they did have this LA game next, so that basically indicated that I felt that Anaheim would show up in this game, and I do. I think both teams will, though. That's the issue. So, Kings, I think they're going to show up as well. They just ended a 3-game loss streak with a win over Ottawa, and now they have a single-game road trip where they just have to go down the street, and they've had 3 days off. I don't know if that time off is going to hurt their momentum or not because they just broke that loss streak, so I don't know, man. If it disrupts a win streak, I do think it's disruptive. But the fact that they only had one win before going into the rest, I think the rest will be helpful. So I think both teams are going to be focused. I kind of lean to LA because they're good on the road, and the odds makers are kind of telling you what to think in the game. They're 9-2-3 on the road, which is solid, although I know Anaheim is 8-3-0 at home. Anaheim is very good at home, but LA is significantly better on the road than they are at home. So although maybe the home distractions are why LA is not good at home, and maybe those will still be in play here because they're still so close to home. They could probably just still be at home right now. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh, thank you, sir. I'm glad that people appreciate this, but yeah, I don't know, man. I do not appreciate myself. I know I've been really hot until last night when I was so angry about being wrong about all 3 games yesterday in the NFL and my pick'em. If only I got the Ravens right, I would have not felt that way. And that game was complete bullshit. You can go see my rant at the beginning of the show. That was a bullshit game. It was not what it appeared at all. Paid for being a tout. I mean, dude, I don't know, because my politics just are so wild, and I say such uncouth crap on Twitter. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, I've hung out with some of those people, and they liked me, but I don't know if they quite knew, although Chris Thirst and CT Betts followed me on Twitter. He might still follow me. I don't know. I mean, I warned him when he followed me, because I talked to him when I was at that thing during March Madness back in 2024. I was at a bar for the Final Four, and it was like a Viva hard seltzer thing. I've told you guys about it, where Kelly in Vegas was promoting it. She was there. It was in the Boston area. Yeah, she was there. It was at a bar restaurant that has a ton of TVs. It was a good setup for watching a ton of games at once. And dude, it was awesome because we had our own section. It was just all sports bettors. There were some guys from other podcasts there. Yeah, CT Betts, I warned him though how uncouth I am and whatever. And I think he is kind of a right-leaning guy politically, but those people have a lot of beefs with me too, though, usually so. And I think Kelly is too, but I don't know, man. She doesn't follow me, although she interacts with me on Twitter sometimes. And it was them two, and no, Walking Bets was not there. Jimmy the Greek, yeah. Kelly was the only woman at the whole thing. And dude, she's fun, I will say. As I've already pointed out, she definitely likes to hit the sauce, let's say. But, that's well known. But, I don't think she, overdoes it or anything. But she gets into, she talks a lot. She loves her dogs. She starts talking a lot about that. I think she's a happy drunk, if you want to call it that. That was fun. And I like I said, Joe Ranieri from Wager Talk was there, and I liked hanging out with him. He was mostly hanging out kind of right at the bar. But he's funny, dude. He's really funny in person. I think I vibed with him the best out of all of them. Yeah. I kind of want to hang out with that guy again. I liked him. And then I met some other people there, some people who do, it was all people that bet at least and whatever. This other guy followed me who goes by the Caveman or something, and I glanced across the bar and I thought he was Marco D'Angelo. He looks like Marco, but it was not Marco. It was this dude called the Caveman, who I think is from around here somewhere. He followed me. I don't know if he had enough of my Twitter shit posting or not. Maybe he still follows me. I don't know. I liked that guy too, though. I liked all these people, hanging out with them, whatever. It was weird doing it as a non-alcoholic, and I was hitting the non-alcoholic beers that they had there, which is now my thing. I'm in the craft non-alcoholic beer space now, trying out more of that. I had a dill pickle one from Athletic yesterday. I have some of them left, so shout out to them, which I love pickles, and that is a wild beer, man. It's a sour. I like it a lot. I like the strangeness, man. But yeah, I'm going way off topic here. But that event was fun because everybody in our area had bets on everything. And I had an under on one of the baseball games that was on, and I'm watching that. It was Cubs. I forget who. It was at Wrigley Field. It was one of the days where the wind was blowing. And I forget who it was. Cubs and somebody. I was yeah, I got the under in that game. Everybody had action on the Final Four to some extent. I think a lot of the guys that I was with were on Alabama plus the points against UConn, and I think they might have covered, just snuck in at the end, and we all barely won because I think I had an Alabama team total under in that game because there was such a 3-point shooting team, and I thought moving into that big venue for the Final Four, I thought would affect the sight lines. I wasn't totally right about it, but they did still sneak in under their total. Because it was that plus UConn plays way slow and plays defense. So I'm Yeah, it's going to slow them down, man. So, but we all won, and we all barely won our bets right at the end. And everybody went nuts because it was like Alabama covered. They went under their team total for me, and we're all, fuck yeah. Like, everybody's high-fiving, you know. Yeah, I mean, that was fun for sure. I don't think the other people in the restaurant appreciated it. They're probably like, what the hell is going on? Because our space was like right in the middle of the restaurant. We were on one side of the bar because the bar is right in the center of the restaurant. So one side of the bar was where we were set up, and it was all blocked off for the party that we had with tables and stuff there, and one half of the bar. And then the other side of the bar was for the rest of the restaurant. Oh, man. But, of course, if you get a table at the restaurant, you don't have to go up to the bar. Obviously, they serve you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's how it was. What is that? Hakeens? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. A pickled vodka. Sounds good to me. 60 proof. That's low for a vodka, isn't it? 30% alcohol. It seems like it should be. It seems like it should be. It should be probably at least 80 proof, I would imagine. But yeah, I used to drink a lot of alcohol, so we know I was a craft beer guy. I also loved a lot of the whiskeys. I delved a little bit into the rest of the stuff. I mean, I would drink almost anything. I'm never really a wine guy, though. That's not my thing. But you know, all right. Let's get back to the rest of this. Vancouver and San Jose. I mean, this game, I don't know if I have a ton to say about this, but Vancouver, they did pull off that upset over Anaheim. That was a big game, and they do have LA tomorrow and then Colorado, so it does look like a sandwich spot. So I guess, you know, I do have something to say about this. I would fade them in this game. I would look towards San Jose. The problem I have with it is that San Jose is clearly not as good as their record looks, because I think Vancouver, who has the lesser record than San Jose, are favored on the road at San Jose, despite being in a bad spot. So that does worry me a little bit. But you got to think San Jose is in a bounce-back spot. They just lost 6-0. I know it was to Colorado, but Colorado also had a revenge motive because Colorado did lose in overtime at San Jose. And after that game, San Jose did actually play well on a back-to-back the next day. They took Detroit into a shootout. So San Jose actually has played well after playing Colorado before already. But they did have to travel to Elevation this time and then come back, whereas the other time both games were at home. So I don't know. This game, it's tempting. It's close. I think I'm leaving it off my card. It's close, but the money is actually saying Vancouver in this one. I don't really know why. They're up from -112 to -113. 70% of tickets on San Jose. 52% of the cash coming in Vancouver. So the money's coming in on Vancouver. So Market Reed says Vancouver. I don't really agree with it, though. I would lean to San Jose in that one for sure, but it's not on my card. No, I did not. I was a good boy. I did not drink in high school. I had a little bit in college, because I was in the men's glee club, and it was like, you got to at least do it, man. You got to at least have some of it, not really hazing, but it was like kind of like you got to kind of do it, just to be in it. Like a lot of those guys were frat guys and whatever. All right, so drink some really like crappy beer, whatever. That was about it. Not going to statute of limitations is up, baby. But I never was really into it. I never liked it until I started working in Boston. Like, I never really did it hard. Like, I was pretty much a non-drinker. I would have it, like, very, very occasionally. Never really did it up until I started working in Boston, my second job, and it was a massive party at, like, an e-commerce, like, retail website, which is probably why the company went under, and they had to like lay everybody off as well. But that was a party, man, and that's when I really started doing it. No, not for me. It wasn't for the young. No, for me it was. For me it was between the ages of 28 and 36 is when I was doing it, for the most part. My weight fluctuated in college quite a bit. I weighed about what I weigh now in college, almost like, I don't know. Well, at my best in college, I think I was close to what I weigh now, maybe a little bit less in college, but I started working out in college, so maybe some of it was muscle, but I didn't weigh that much. Like I was when I graduated high school, I kind of looked like I do right now. Like I was probably in the 160s, which is still where I am right now. My weight has gone all over the place, though. And in college, dude, like in college, you could eat a ton and not gain weight. Like you just have a good metabolism when you're young. And then I started working out like junior, senior year. We were using the gym a lot, but it was easier to do it because I was doing intramural basketball. I was playing for an intramural basketball team, but I was also the coach of that team. We were the only team that even had a coach, which was hilarious. It was a fun time. I got interviewed for the school paper. I started it just because there was a random necktie on the floor of the gym, and I just put it on and started coaching. And then I went out to Dick's, and I got like a clipboard, started drawing up plays, and we got serious about it. Like my team was like an undersized team, and we were good shooters. So I started like not that type of shooter. So I started like running like Princeton offenses and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We did well. Like we made the Final Four in one of the years, and we lost to the eventual champion. And we were beating them at halftime. It's just our shooting went cold, and they got too physical with us. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, and I would go to the gym with a lot of the guys that were on that team. We'd lift weights, we'd run. You know, all that type of stuff. Although basketballs would kind of supplant the running. But, yeah, and then I was in the 160s, like, around then. I think I looked pretty good because I think some of it was muscle, too. And then after college, I got really bad. And really, really quickly because I went from working out, like, almost daily to not doing anything. And I was working, with computers, sitting at a desk, and I was like, I'm invincible. I can still just eat all this garbage all the time. I got real fat. And then I had a stroke, and I almost died when I was 26. So I got really fat, and I started having headache issues because of blood pressure as well after college. It started right away, man, and I ballooned up to like 200 pounds. And then I finally got rid of that weight in 2017. I went like keto, and I lost 45 pounds. So I got all the way down to, I got down like to 149, I think, at my lowest. And then I gained a little bit of it back, but I've been like at like 160, like in the low 160s is where I've been for a long time now. That's where I'm at. But I'm really, I'm small. I'm 5'6". So I don't know. Yeah, I think it was impossible for me to get fat in college, even though I was eating a lot of crap. I was the player coach, Bill Russell. That is true. And yeah, there are other stories that I'll talk. I think I've talked about them before on the show with us almost getting thrown out of the league and then me getting a bunch of ringers after we had multiple guys thrown off of our team because we were doing things that we were not supposed to be doing. Namely, we were using players that didn't go to my school, which was not allowed. It was nowhere near as bad as you think, but that's what we were doing. And we only got called out because we had a rivalry with another team, and they like contacted the like league over us because of that BS. Yeah, I'll talk more about it at some point with the way that I went. It was almost like a movie. The way that I got out and got a bunch of ringers, although we were probably not exactly the most sympathetic characters. Maybe we were. We were kind of like a, I don't know, ragtag-ish type of team. All right, we have Toronto at Washington. Dude, I got to get through this fucking video. We still have all this football to talk about and NBA. I knew this was going to happen. I hate this. I have to get this done within the next like half hour, dude. Like, I have to do it. Toronto just beat Columbus to break a loss streak, and that was a win for us on the show. Maybe that will give them some momentum moving forward into this game. Washington's coming off kind of a bigger game against Winnipeg, staying at home. Yeah, and they do have the Islanders next. Toronto just hasn't been playing well, so I would lean to Toronto here. The money seems to agree. Washington's up to minus 157 here. 60% of the tickets on them, 57 or 67% of the cash on Toronto. Market seems to agree with me on that one, so yeah, I mean, as I will say, I'll agree as well. I still don't like that the market's disagreeing with me on the Islanders game, but whatever. Winnipeg and Carolina. Carolina's a huge favorite in this game, though, so I don't know. Like, what do you want to do with this? I just mentioned it because I still consider Winnipeg to be a good team, but they've lost 3 games in a row. Maybe they'll be motivated coming into this one because it is Carolina. Carolina's been really good. Carolina, they're coming off 2 losses, but they're in a positive spot because they took that loss that we were right on with a winner on the show with the Rangers. Carolina took that loss in a bad spot, a return home spot. Now the second game back home, it is a better spot. So it is a positive spot for both teams here, in my opinion. Carolina's pretty decent at home. It's 6-3-1. Winnipeg is all right on the road. It's 6-5-1. So, I mean, I don't know. With a line like this and both teams being focused, maybe there's some value in looking towards taking Winnipeg. There are 55% of the tickets on Carolina, 69% of the cash on Winnipeg. The number's down from -223 to -213. So Carolina, heavy favorite. Money seems to be fading them, but I don't know if I really want to do anything with that game. I mean, I don't, but I could see Carolina winning it, though, pretty easily in a better spot for them. Nashville and Chicago, what I will say is that this is a rivalry game, which is basically why I'm talking about it, even though both teams are not great. Chicago, I think, is still overrated looking at their record. I don't think they're as good as their record. Nashville's been playing like ass, although they're coming off a blowout win over Detroit. I don't think they're going to be in a letdown spot, though, because Chicago, these teams don't like each other, man. There's a rivalry between these two teams for whatever reason. I don't really understand it, but that is just the way that it is. Chicago, they're on a 4-game skid now, and they did just take Minnesota into overtime, and they played a tough game against Colorado the game before that, so I don't know if I love the spot for Chicago. It seems like a tough spot for both teams looking at that. The money's coming in on Nashville. I mean, do you really want to have money on Nashville? I know they got the money in the last game, but Chicago down from -115 to -109. 83% of the tickets on them, so they're public because it's like pick the winner here. But the odds makers are telling you that even though Nashville's record is way worse, that they're actually the better team. Chicago's not even getting home ice factored into the line here as far as how heavy of a favorite they are, how not heavy of a favorite they are. 78% of the cash coming back on Nashville. I'll agree with Nashville in that one, but I don't love it. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where I think just the records are not representative of who the teams are. Thank you, sir. The Toad Lore. Saab, you like the Mammoth, and you like Toronto. When did Matthews come back, though? Because wouldn't that be a reverse injured player spot? I mean, I agreed with Toronto today, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really factor the reverse injured player spot into hockey that much, though. But I don't know when he came back either. So if it's his first game back, that would still kind of be a slight reason to maybe not love Toronto. I gave out the Islanders as a play, but speaking of which, my other play is Utah on the money line. Speaking of which, Saab, I don't know, he's in my head. I like Utah as well. We're going to go with Utah here on the money line. We're going to fade Dallas. Money seems to very much agree with this. Dallas is down from -142 to -137. 75% of the tickets on them, 76% of the cash back on Utah. So the money coming back on Utah. He played in the last game. I gave it a play on Toronto in the last game. I wasn't paying any attention, so I don't know. But at least that means, yeah, they're going to have some rhythm with him back. So that's better, I guess, for Toronto now. Money coming in on Utah. I like the spot for Utah here. Utah did just take a loss to Montreal, which I mentioned that on my show. That was close to being on my card because I said it was a sandwich spot. Utah was coming off wrecking Vegas. A big Western Conference matchup, and then they had this out-of-conference game against Montreal. I thought it was a bad spot, and again, because they also had to go to Dallas next, so that's a much bigger game as well. So another Western Conference foe. So I thought it was a sandwich spot. I didn't give it out as a play, although I was 4-0 that day, but my additional leans went 2-1 that day, with the only loss being the Chicago overtime loss. But yeah, I thought Utah was in a bad spot, but now I think they're going to be in a bounce back here. I know we might have to deal with Vanacek in net, which hasn't been as good, but I don't think it's horrible, really. And you got to think they're going to be focused on Dallas here, man. And Dallas, they do like to play some lower scoring games, so an underdog is more likely going to be in a game against Dallas. At least an underdog that knows how to play defense, which is not Edmonton. Dallas coming off that huge win over Edmonton the other night with Ottinger back in net. I gave that out as a play. That was a winner for us. Huge game for Dallas. That was revenge, playoff revenge, I believe, for last year. Oh, no, they already got playoff revenge. So that was the second time they beat Edmonton, but I think it was a bad spot for Edmonton. Huge win for Dallas. They turned around the next night with DeSmith back in net, and they didn't even lose. They beat Seattle. So now Ottinger's back in net, and now we're looking at, even though, yes, he is their better goalie, but we're looking at Dallas being in a return home spot now, man. So I don't like that, as you know. They've been off for over a week. They had to go up to the Pacific Northwest, coming back home from a successful road trip. I think they might be distracted against a Utah team that's not been playing that well recently. And the return home, as I talk about, you have to get back to home life. You got stuff to do at home. Yeah, I think they're going to be in a distracted spot here, so I like it. We'll take Utah money line in that game, man, and that is the play there. All right. Montreal is a sneaky dog. Vegas lost versus Utah. Montreal has momentum. Knights in a return home spot. No, the Knights are in the second game back home, I'm pretty sure. I just talked about that. I like Vegas in that game. Vegas, they're in the second game back home, and they lost the first game back home. I think it's a positive spot for them. And Montreal's coming off winning in elevation and having to keep that up a second straight game. Beating Toronto was big for them, too, so I disagree. I like Vegas in that game. All right. Money doesn't agree with me, though. So, Saab, you're on the side of the money. So the market read is on your side, but the market read is on your side. But I don't agree with it. NBA, come on, man. I don't want to. Do I really have to talk about all this shit? And then we still have college football. This is awful, dude. I don't even have my video on Instagram out for the noon game. Fuck. I'm not going to talk about every game. Cleveland is at Atlanta. I mean, that's a somewhat big game here. Cavs are coming off a blowout loss to Toronto. They've had a bunch of days off, so it's a pretty positive spot, although they may look ahead, though, because Boston embarrassed Cleveland. My Celtics beat Cleveland by 20 points in Boston, so that is a rematch for Cleveland there. So there is a potential look ahead here, although I got to think Cleveland's going to want to bounce back from that ugly loss there and that they will show up. Atlanta, though, they're coming off an even uglier loss, getting blown out by almost 20 points by Washington. I mean, really? That's an insanely bad loss. So you got to think that they're going to be in bounce back mode, and maybe they got caught looking ahead, and they do have a couple of days off as well. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the other thing I like about fading the Dallas Stars is that they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. I forgot to mention that. I believe that's the case, so that's bad too. But anyway, back to this. Both of these teams to me look like they're in bounce back spots. So what do we do in this game? The money's coming in on the Cavs, up from 5.5 to 6. I kind of disagree with it, though. 69% of tickets, 56% of the cash on the Hawks. I know the Hawks look like a public home underdog, which you never want to be on a side like that. But I don't really see how they're the public. How would they be getting the public action against the Cavs? I just don't get it. I think the spot could still potentially be a look ahead, though. And Atlanta's loss was more embarrassing. So I kind of like Atlanta in that game, man. All right. Some of these games, I mean, some of these games are so ugly. I just have nothing to say. I'll give out my play now. More best bets. It's always the best bet segment. I have one NBA play, and here it is. And it's going against the market, but again, the market can, take that gesture. We're going to take the Orlando Magic plus the 3.5 against Detroit. I think this is a bad spot for Detroit, man. I saw some 3.5s out there. You might have to get 3 now, but I mean, Detroit just took a loss to my Boston Celtics. Huge win for the Celtics, but again, I talk about this. When a team loses a long win streak like that, Detroit had not lost since October 27th. They literally had gone almost 2 months without a loss, and now they take a loss in a hard-fought game, which, by the way, the refs tried to hand the game to Detroit. I don't know if you saw that, but Cunningham got fouled when the Celtics were basically intentionally fouling, and he threw up a 3 from almost half court, and the refs reviewed it, and they gave him the 3 free throws. Absolute bullshit. I absolutely hate that. He obviously was not going to shoot the fucking ball with, I think they had like a 2-point lead at that point. Obviously, he was not going to do that. It was so fucking stupid, but he actually missed the last free throw, and the Celtics wound up winning. But all that aside, Detroit's coming off of that, so that could hang them over, man. I talk about that. When you haven't lost in so long, you could definitely be a hangover spot. Not only that, but they already beat Orlando at home by almost 20 points at home, which was the win that started their win streak. So Detroit did already beat Orlando. Orlando might want a little bit of in-season revenge here. But, of course, Orlando's going to show up anyway because it's Detroit. You got to think so. But Detroit's also returning home from a road trip. They've been on the road since November 18th. I know they didn't go that far. They basically, they kind of stayed in the area, sort of. They went to Atlanta, Milwaukee, Indiana, Boston. But it's still a return home spot. Could be a bit of a distraction. And they do get Miami next. And Miami's been hot. And Miami's got a better record than Orlando right now. Miami's leading their division, and Miami has their starting lineup back now, basically, too. So that's a bigger game, too. So bad spot, I think, for Detroit here, man, for a whole bunch of reasons. I don't like it at all. And that was even bigger because they were trying to set a franchise record, 14 straight wins, and they didn't get it. So now that's all gone. They had to stay at 13 wins. So I think maybe that might even add something to this too. As far as Orlando is concerned, they're starting to play better since they started not trying to go fast. I think they decided let's just do what we were good at last year and play slow again. And yeah, I know they're coming off a blowout win. I get it, over Philadelphia. They blew them out by 41 points. That's ridiculous. Normally, I don't want a team that blew a team out by 41 points, but are they really going to be in a letdown spot after beating this Philadelphia team? And by the way, Philadelphia had nobody in their lineup in that game. There was no Embiid. There was no Paul George. So I don't know. Is Orlando really going to be overconfident off of that? I just don't think so. I think they're going to show up for a Detroit team that kind of embarrassed them earlier in the season. Detroit team is all the rage right now and is the top of the conference. Yeah, I think Orlando will show up. Orlando has a couple of days off, too. They're trying to finish the road trip here, and they're 1-1 on the road trip right now, so they have a chance to split the road trip. The line looks ridiculous at 3.5, too. It almost looks way too easy to play Detroit. And I know they're really good at home, 7-1. I get it. But if you're going to fade Detroit, they're good home and away. It doesn't even really matter that much right now. And yes, I know Orlando is without Banchero, so it looks really, really weird for Detroit to only be laying this many points. The odds makers might be accounting for a little bit of the situation here, but even all that being said, I don't think Cunningham's out of the lineup or anything like that, so I don't know. This lineup, it looks way, way, way too easy to lay the points. I don't understand how it looks like 51% of the tickets are on the Magic right now. I don't get that. And the Pistons down from 5.5 to 3 now with 80% of the cash on them. That makes me worried that there is some injury, but looking at the injury report, there doesn't seem to be anything. So I'm going with the spot. We're going to take the Magic plus the points in that one. Plus 3.5. Yeah, MGM, they kind of, MGM kind of lags behind a little bit. Yeah, Vegas played Ottawa. That's correct. Stronger leans. Yeah, every game. I wasn't planning on doing every game in football, but there were a lot of big games in football. All right, and then what else do we have here? As far as the NBA, there are a lot of these games that I just don't like, man. A lot of these games are just huge favorites where I just don't really have a strong opinion on most of these games, man. Again, I looked at these games and I'm like, I got nothing. Milwaukee, New York, I guess, was the only other one where there was, I don't know, kind of an interesting thing going on here where Milwaukee, I'm looking at this game and I'm like, well, Milwaukee just lost at Miami, but they did play them tough. Now they're going to New York. The Knicks, they have the better record right now. The Knicks, I believe, are still without Anunoby, but the Knicks are returning home from a road trip. I know they blew out Charlotte to finish the road trip, but that road trip was mostly against some kind of weak teams. The teams that they beat were all weak teams. Dallas, Brooklyn, and Charlotte. Now they're returning home from a road trip they've been on for over a week. So that could be a bad spot, returning home from a road trip. And they have Toronto next. That's a big look-ahead spot. I think Toronto really, really hot right now. And then Boston after that. So they might overlook this Milwaukee team. Except then I looked at this game, and the problem is Milwaukee looks like they might be in a reverse injured player spot because Giannis looks like he's coming back here, man. He's questionable. And I think if he's going to play, if if he can play, he's probably going to do it because this is a game against the Knicks. It's big. Giannis has been insane this year, averaging over 31 points a game. So if he's coming back in, I always talk about how when a star player comes back, especially the dude who's literally carrying the team, not exactly literally, but almost. When that happens, he's got to work his way back. The team's got to shift roles again. It's kind of a chemistry thing. The line's going to over-adjust to that. So that is what I worry about because if he wasn't coming back, I would pretty much be all over the Bucks in this game. The spot is really bad for the Knicks. They're up to an 8.5-point favorite. They're very public, 96% of the tickets, 98% of the cash. I'd be looking to take the points of the Bucks, but I worry about that with Giannis coming back, man. Although if Giannis was coming back, would the line be this high on the Knicks? I don't exactly know. Maybe. So I worry about it, man. So it's got to be a stay away. I mean, maybe if it's announced that Giannis is not playing, maybe we have to jump in on that. I guess if I do, maybe I'll put out an Instagram video on it. But, yeah, I mean, I don't love it. And, again, I don't really have much to say on these other games. So I know we're going to abbreviate the show a little bit here, but we got football. Lots of football. Noontime, my first game up. We have one game at noon, and this is going to be it. It's in football. We're going to be on Mississippi State plus 7.5. This is a weird setup in this game, dude. One of the weirder ones that I've ever seen, to be honest. This game, it looks like Mississippi is public for now, so we're fading the public with a little bit more of the cash on them. I don't know if it's really going to stay that way. 77% of the tickets, 81% of the cash on Ole Miss. We're going to fade Ole Miss here, though, man. I mean, Ole Miss, I don't want to say everything is in front of them. Like, normally I like to fade teams that are basically like they control their own destiny and win and they're in. That's not the case for Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they can only get into the SEC championship if they win and teams above them lose, and I think they kind of need Alabama to lose. Well, no, they do have the tiebreaker, I guess, over Alabama, and I forget how it works out, but they can't. It's not just win and they're in the SEC championship. They need at least Georgia to lose, I think. Ole Miss, as far as they're concerned, so I know they don't control their own destiny, but basically I think if they win, they're going to be in the playoff, though. Like, even if they don't get into the SEC championship, I think if they win, they'll be in the playoff because they'll be a one-loss SEC team. I think there's no way they can get left out of the playoff if they win. But there's some things going on with Ole Miss that I do not like at all, and that is mostly that Lane Kiffin is, like, meeting with other teams, and they're saying he's going to make his announcement after this game. So what the hell is that? Like, what kind of a motivational thing is that? Like, do you think the team is going to show up and play in this game really hard if they don't know if Lane Kiffin is staying? Like, he's going to coach this game, but it's like the team's got this huge question mark, like, hanging over their heads now. Like, what is Lane Kiffin going to do? And it seems like he's going to be leaving. So he's almost like a lame duck coach now. So it seems totally bizarre for a team that might make the playoff to have a coach that's leaving and going to be a lame duck. And I think if he was staying, he would have announced it before this game to get the team pumped up for this rivalry game, the Egg Bowl. I don't know, man. I think they're going to have this in their heads. It's a big-time question mark. It's going to throw some instability into this situation, man. I don't like it at all. I don't know what to say about it. Ole Miss, generally, I would be not really wanting to fade them because they came off that game over Florida where they didn't play that well. But now it's like Lane Kiffin might be gone. It's very, very bizarre, man. And Ole Miss has actually played a fairly weak schedule, too. I mean, their biggest win was on the road against OU. The LSU win is not looking very good right now. And then their other game, they lost at Georgia and blew a big lead in that game. Yeah, they played well, but Ole Miss is probably not exactly as good as their record looks, man. And now they're going to be up against a hungry Mississippi State team that this is going to basically be a game where they're going to go all out, man, because Mississippi State, they could get a 6 win here and make a bowl, which they have not made a bowl since 2021, which is also the last time they beat Ole Miss. So I think there's a lot of motivation on the side of Mississippi State here, man. They're the littler brother. It would mean a lot to this program to get back to a bowl this year. They're coming off an ugly loss to Missouri, a couple of ugly losses. They've actually faced a more difficult schedule than Ole Miss. I mean, out of conference, they had to play Arizona State. They had to play Tennessee. They played competitively there. They lost to A&M, but that game was somewhat closer towards the end of the game. They played pretty competitively against Texas, and they lost to Georgia. And then, they lost to Missouri. I mean, whatever. But more difficult schedule on the side of Mississippi State here, man. I like it for all those reasons. We're going to take the points with Mississippi State in that one, and hopefully the Cowbells get it. We need more cowbell in that game. The Egg Bowl, I don't know. I don't really know. Oh, I think it's because the trophy is supposed to be a football, but it looks like an egg, so it's the Egg Bowl. Stacks, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. I got to get out of here soon, though, man. This is like, we do have Utah and Kansas here. Now, the thing about Utah, they can make the Big 12 championship still, but they need a lot of things. Like, it looks like they can't even do it because I don't know how they can even get in, which there is some scenario where they get in, and I don't really understand it because Utah lost to BYU and Texas Tech, which are the two teams ahead of them in the Big 12, so they don't have the tiebreaker. So how could they possibly get in? But there is some scenario where they get in. I don't really understand it, but there is. I think they need like BYU to lose. I think they need Texas Tech to lose as well, and they need Arizona State to win. I don't know. It's some very, very bizarre scenario. I don't know, but when they're in a scenario like that, I think Utah can kind of just focus on the game because they're in a situation where it's like you don't control your own destiny, right? And there's just this outside chance that they might be able to get in. So like all you can do is really win. Do I really want to lay points with Utah on the road? Not really. In Kansas, they didn't make a bowl last year, I don't think. They made a bowl 2 years ago, so they need a win to get bowl eligible, so maybe they'll be motivated here, man. And it is senior day, by the way, which I forgot to mention with Mississippi State. These home teams are in their senior day this week, so that's big too. The final home game where you're going to go all out, especially if you think you might not make a bowl. You're going to go all out and try to do that, man. And like, at the very least, you get to play well on senior day. Kansas, they'll be trying to make a bowl at the very least. I think they'll show up, especially because they were embarrassing last week. And we took that embarrassing loss. Last week was terrible. Utah's down from 13 to 10.5 here. 68% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on them. Do I really want to? I don't know, man. I don't really have a strong opinion on this. I would probably lean towards taking the points with Kansas, but I don't love it at all. Iowa at Nebraska, which I think is Zach, that's your team, right? Nebraska, or is it? No, Nate. It's I get everything mixed up now. It's Nate, I think. I don't even remember. This game, I mean, both of these teams don't really have a whole lot to play for now, man. Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa's up from 5 to 6 as a road favorite here. 57% of tickets, 60% of the cash coming in on Iowa. The problem with Nebraska is they're without Raiola, and after they had that one really big step-up game for Latif playing in his home crowd, basically in L.A., and they beat UCLA, Nebraska was really bad in his next game back home against Penn State. I had that as a lean towards Penn State on the show. I should have given it out as a play. Should have added it to my pick 5, pick 6, whatever, pick 7. But maybe Nebraska, they're just not as good without Latif, man. I know this is senior day for them, but I don't know. Again, both these teams are not going anywhere. They're both going to some bowl at least. But Iowa had an ugly performance last week themselves, barely beating Michigan State in their senior night. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Iowa in this game, although a defensive team in a low total game, laying points on the road is not very appealing to me. Ohio at Buffalo in the MAC. Ohio, pretty much, I think they're in a situation where if they win, they're into the MAC championship. So you know what? I don't love that when a team controls their own destiny because it's almost like the pressure builds too much. It's like win and you're in. You know what I mean? Like teams play looser when they don't control their own destiny, when it's kind of like out of their hands. I talk about this at the end of the NFL season a lot. Didn't really have situations like that I really jumped in on last week. I was more looking for teams that I just thought wouldn't be motivated at all. But Ohio, I mean, they're going on the road to Buffalo here. Buffalo's going to want it, man, because Buffalo, they still need a win to become bowl eligible. And I know they were in a bowl last year. I think they were. But still, that's one of their goals this year is to make a bowl. It's senior day for them, so it's their last home game. So they're in one of those situations. I think they're going to go all out as well to try to get into a bowl here. They also have a chance to, kind of spoil it for Ohio, even though I know they're not the biggest of rivals, but still, Buffalo, I think they're maybe a little bit worse than the record makes them look. I don't think they're a horrible team in the MAC here. They're getting a lot of points at home, too, and I think with Ohio, again, you're having to lay a lot with Ohio in a game where they just need to win and they're in too, so they don't need style points either. They don't need to win and cover in this one. 54% of tickets, 52% of the cash on them. Totals all the way down to 54, which makes it a lot more tempting to want to take the points with the home underdog there. That's the way I would lean. Buffalo plus the points there. Yeah, don't have a whole lot else to say about that. We got some ugly other games here. I'll talk about the bigger games and my plays, and then I'll try to get out of here. Well, I have to talk about NFL too. Number 4, Georgia, and number 23, Georgia Tech. This is a weird game. This game is very hard to handicap the motivation, man. Georgia, they're number 4 right now, so they still have a chance to be one of the teams that gets a bye in the playoff. Well, actually, maybe they don't, because I think the conference winners get them. I forget exactly how it works now. Maybe that's not right. I don't know. But I forget. Maybe they do have well, of course, they still have a shot because they could win the SEC. So Georgia still has that in front of them too. But this is also not an SEC game. So Georgia, as far as Georgia getting into the SEC championship, that's out of their hands now. And I know that is one of their goals, is to get into the SEC championship. But their bigger goal, though, is to make the playoff, is to get into the play. Their goal is the championship, right? And I think if they take a second loss, they'll still be in the playoff. The SEC, again, is out of their hands here. So this is not an SEC game. And last week's wasn't an SEC game either. They barely showed up against Charlotte, and they didn't even they didn't even score the point spread in the game. I think they were like a 38-point favorite, and they only scored 35. But that being said, it was obviously a game where Georgia just didn't even show up, and they still won. Now, this game, how much does it matter to Georgia? I don't know, man. I mean, a second loss would at least kind of prevent them from getting a bye in the playoffs. So I think they still kind of want that. They still want to get to the SEC championship for that reason, although, again, for them to get into the SEC championship, they can't do anything about it now. They got one loss, and they just need teams to basically... Well, I think they're basically in... I don't know. I don't know if some teams could leapfrog them or not, so I don't know. But it is out of their hands. Now, Georgia Tech dropped to number 23. Georgia Tech is a very overrated team, as I kept talking about. I don't think they're even a top 25 team. And they just took a brutal loss to Pitt that almost eliminates Georgia Tech from the ACC championship game. They could still get in, but this is not an ACC game, of course, so it's out of their hands. I mean, they can't, they're going to need teams above them to lose, and they're going to need a lot of things to happen to get into the ACC championship. Now, it's possible, but highly unlikely. So you might say, well, that might be the dream crusher, because they were going to try to win the ACC. Georgia Tech is not going to wind up in the playoff now, man. I know the ACC would have an automatic berth, I think, for the winner, but Georgia Tech basically can't get there now unless some really unlikely circumstances happen. But does that mean that now Georgia Tech is going to treat this like their bowl game? It's still a huge game against Georgia. It's the final home game, or it's not home, actually. I think it's a neutral site game. Let me see. Yeah, it's in Atlanta. It's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Where last year, I think it was actually at Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. I forget. But yeah, I mean, I see reasons why both teams might show up here, but it's really, really hard for me to gauge this one, man. And Georgia does remember that Georgia Tech, if you remember, Georgia Tech took them into multiple overtimes last year, so that was kind of crazy. Georgia kind of remembers that, I think. And maybe Georgia will be more focused because they know Georgia Tech almost upset them last year. Georgia is up from 13 to 15.5 here, 66% of tickets, 75% of the cash on them. So Georgia is getting some of the money here. If you liked them, you probably needed to get it before they went through the 2-touchdown threshold, because that is a significant move through the 14. I'm staying away from this game completely, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to do anything with the game, but Georgia is definitely the better team. Georgia Tech is overrated completely, whereas Georgia is probably somewhere around a top 5 team, so they're not very overrated. Georgia Tech is definitely still overrated and has been throughout the season, so I don't know. That's what I think about that. And Georgia has the way better defense, too, whereas Georgia Tech is more of an offensive team. Temple has to win to become bowl eligible. Yeah. That is going to be a motivating factor. Next up, I'm going to give out another play. We're going to take New Mexico +1. Nobody thought New Mexico would even be in this situation, man. We're going to fade San Diego State. They're down from -1.5 to -1. 61% of the tickets on them, so they're public. 62% of the cash on New Mexico, so the money's coming in on New Mexico. San Diego State, they're in a spot where they control their own destiny completely. They're atop the Mountain West. They already beat Boise State, which was their huge win. I don't believe they played UNLV, but New Mexico is just kind of in there, and it's like, who are these guys? San Diego State might overlook them, man. And San Diego State, again, if they win, they're going to host the Mountain West title game. So they win, and they're the 1 seed in the conference, and that's it. They can lose and still get into the championship game as well, by the way. So there is that scenario where they actually don't need to win to get into the Mountain West Championship. I think they could actually get knocked out of it, but I think a lot of stuff would have to happen for them to get knocked out, although it is possible because New Mexico, from their perspective, New Mexico could actually, if they win this game, they're going to take the tiebreaker away from San Diego State. So San Diego State, if they lose, they're going to need Boise State to lose, I believe. Or actually, I don't know, because San Diego State has a tiebreaker against them because they beat them, so maybe they don't. So maybe San Diego State, like, I don't know, are they actually locked into the championship game? I didn't think they were. I don't think they are, but still, they basically control their own destiny here, where it's like win and they're the host. But I think New Mexico is absolutely just free-rolling here, man. New Mexico didn't think they would be anywhere close to this year. They got a new coach this year and whatever, and they've played quite well. I know they haven't had the most difficult schedule, but New Mexico, I mean, they've played competitively in like pretty much all their most difficult games, and those all came on the road too. Like at Michigan and at Boise State, they didn't play horribly in those games, and those are both on the road. And they did lose by 7 at San Jose State, but they're better than their record looks. And New Mexico won on the road at UNLV. I know UNLV is overrated, but still, that's a good win. And New Mexico is also undefeated at home, so. And it's going to be their senior day, so they're going to go all out for this. And again, I think when a team didn't even think they were going to be here at all, and basically, like if they win and then a couple other things happen, they can actually get into they could actually potentially host the Mountain West Championship. Yeah, I mean, I think the team's just going to be playing way more loose, man. Because again, they just didn't even think they were going to be here. And for San Diego State last week, I mean, they were in a letdown spot because they beat Boise the week before that. But again, Boise lost their quarterback the week before that. I know I liked Boise in that game because it was an injured player theory spot, but they couldn't get it done. That backup quarterback for Boise is awful. San Diego State should have been in a letdown coming off of that. They didn't exactly play well against San Jose State, even though they beat them 25-3. San Jose State outgained San Diego State in this game, but they lost the turnover battle by 2. So statistically, it looks like the game should have been way closer. And San Diego State actually kind of got outplayed. That's not a good sign. And the other not good sign for San Diego State is they haven't been good on the road. They got blown out by Washington State on the road. They got blown out by Hawaii on the road. So their 2 losses both came on the road in really ugly fashion. They do have some road wins against Nevada, although they suck. Fresno, I know Fresno's kind of in the mix there in this conference, sort of, but they're not that good either. And then that was it. So, and Northern Iowa, Northern Illinois, they only beat on the road 6-3. And that Northern Illinois team, they're decent defensively, but they are bad. Beating them 6-3, that's pretty bad, dude. So I like New Mexico in this one, man. And the money seems to agree, so that's the next play. Oh, God. How are we going to get this done, man? Temple in North Texas. It is on ESPN. North Texas, they can get into the American Championship game. If they win, they're going to be in. But again, I don't like teams that control their own destiny. Navy was able to get it done last night, I think, which I didn't think they were going to be able to do it. I thought Memphis would win that game. I was wrong. But North Texas, I mean, people have seen that like crazy North Texas offense. Oh, and now all they need to do is win and they're in, and it is their senior night, whatever. But I don't know, man. Temple is going to be motivated again because they could spoil it for North Texas, but also they need a win to become bowl eligible, which I think would be fairly big for them because I don't know when the last time they were in a bowl was. They're on a 3-game skid right now. And I think they might show up for it, man. They might treat this like a big game. Like, if they're not going to make a bowl, this could function as their bowl game. And who knows? Like, maybe they'll be able to pull it off. I don't know. I mean, probably not as a 20-point underdog. But if you want Temple, you only need them to cover the number here. 93% of tickets, 65% of the cash on North Texas. They're very public. I would take the points with Temple. I don't think they're going to win. But I think they're going to be motivated enough that they can come within this number. And I think North Texas's motivation is a little bit questionable. So, I mean, I know it's win and they're in, but again, that kind of puts more pressure on you, and it makes that team overvalued in the market because the odds makers know that too. Boise is at Utah State. Boise still has a chance, so I don't want to say they're dream crushed. I mean, if they win, they're pretty much going to be into the Mountain West Championship still. So I think that is a spot where that doesn't mean they control their own destiny, though, which, again, I don't like. Utah State in senior night, they have a chance to spoil the season, although Utah State did just become bowl eligible last week, and that is big for them because they haven't been to a bowl, I think, for a bit now. So that's big, but of course, they're going to show up for Boise as well at home on senior day. So I would take the points with Utah State here. Boise is down from 3 to 1.5. It almost looks too easy to play Boise here. 65% of tickets, 79% of the cash on Utah State. So, yeah, I mean, I would look towards taking it with Utah State there. I mean, Indiana and Purdue, I mean, Indiana's a giant favorite. There's not a whole lot to really say about this. They're probably going to remain undefeated and be in the Big Ten Championship. Purdue likely will try to show up in what's going to be their final game of the season, senior night at home. They're not going to a bowl. So I would probably take the points because Indiana, they don't even really need style points right now. I mean, they're going to be one of the top seeds in the playoff almost certainly. 69% of tickets, 79% of the cash on Indiana. They're a 28-point favorite, 28.5 though on the road. Purdue, I mean, they're an in-state little brother at this point, too, in Indiana. So I expect them to at least come out with motivation there. Whether or not they can cover, I don't know, but it is a big number. I'd take the points. And then my final play, we're doing a lot of, we're doing a lot of fading perception. We're going to take Texas plus 2.5, although I think you don't have to take this now because I think it is actually already at 3. So I'm going to list it at 3. I think I was going to say wait to get a 3, but I'm pretty sure that if it's not there right now, you'll be able to get it because A&M is going to be public. 60% of tickets, 59% of the cash on A&M. They're public. They're up to 3 now. They're having to go on the road to face Texas. Texas is the better defense, man. A&M is a decently balanced team. They're definitely the better offense, but better defense at home, getting points. I'm going to start looking that way. And Texas A&M, they're undefeated, and they are absolutely not the third best team in the country. I mean, I've expected the wheels to come off A&M for a while. Looking at their schedule, it has not been that difficult. They had that nice win at Notre Dame earlier in the season when Notre Dame was kind of struggling out of the gate. And since then, what have they done? I mean, their biggest wins were against LSU on the road, and LSU, they've completely fallen off. They're not that good. And then they did win at Missouri. And I don't remember if Missouri's quarterback was injured at that point or not, but that was I think that was a loss for us on the show. But yeah, that was not great. And then they almost lost. They were down 30-3 to South Carolina, and they somehow escaped with a win in that game. And last week they had an easy game against Samford, but now they're having to step way up in class to face Texas. Texas is legitimately going to be the best team that they've faced since they played Notre Dame, dude. I mean, they have not faced a team as good as Texas for a while. I know everybody makes fun of Texas's offense. The public doesn't want them. Arch Manning, he's not great. I get it. But this is still a good defense in a spot where I expect them to show up, man. Texas pretty much knows they're not going to be in the playoff now, although I think there's an outside chance that... I don't want to say that because they have 3 losses, so they're probably not going to get in. But they probably know that, and they're going to treat this like their Super Bowl, man. They get to spoil the party for A&M, knock them from the ranks of the unbeaten. These teams don't like each other. It's a home game for Texas, so it's senior day. It's the last game of the season. Texas is going to care more about this than if they miss the playoff. Texas is not going to give a shit about whatever bowl that they're in. They're not going to care. So they're going to be a team you want to fade in their bowl, though they'll probably have a bunch of players drop out, which I hate because then you can't get value fading them anymore. But this is the game they're going to show up for, man. I think this game matters more than whatever bowl they're going to be in. They're likely not to make the playoffs, so I think they're going to show up. And A&M, not as good as their record looks. So we are going with Texas plus the points. And then we do have Arizona against Arizona State. Arizona 25th, Arizona State 20th. Really, I think the handicap comes down to Arizona wanting revenge for last year because Arizona State came into Arizona's house and beat them like 49-7 last year. Just a totally embarrassing loss, and I think Arizona's going to want to redeem themselves from that. We faded Arizona last week because I thought this would be such a huge look-ahead spot to this game, and they still won and covered and beat us. I don't know how, but that does show you that Arizona, they can just play well even in a bad spot. Arizona State's coming off easily beating Colorado, but that's not impressive, man. I mean, their last couple of wins really haven't been that impressive, so I kind of like Arizona in this game, but the money's disagreeing with me. Don't know why. Arizona did go up to a 1.5-point road favorite, so the odds makers are telling you Arizona's the better team, but part of that is because Arizona State's quarterback has been gone for a while now, Levitt, so he's not coming back. Arizona State's offense is definitely worse without him. 69% of the tickets on Arizonans, 57% of the cash on Arizona State, but I just don't agree with it. My lean would be to Arizona in that game. And then we do have NFL, and you know the way that I lean in the NFL game. It's not a play for me, but this is just simply the odds makers are telling you what to think. The Eagles are a 7-point favorite. If you agree with me with the Eagles, I think you got to lay the 7 before it gets to 7.5, because I think it will. They have 68% of tickets, 75% of the cash on them. Both teams are sitting at 8-3, and when you see an 8-3 team favored by a touchdown, the public's going to want to come in and take the underdog here, like perceiving the teams incorrectly, basically. But the odds makers, again, are telling you the Bears are fake, and I've been saying that all along. The Bears have only beaten 2 teams with winning records, and one of them just became a team with a winning record yesterday, Dallas. And the other team is some team that's like barely above 500. Pittsburgh, the team that they beat last week. Every other team the Bears have beaten this year are teams with losing records. They suck. The Eagles have faced a much more difficult schedule. The only problem that I have with the Eagles is that they have not won by margin a lot this year, so that's kind of the issue. They've won a lot of close games, so I do worry about that, and the fact that the total is low. But I would lay it, and again, I would do it before it gets to 7.5. Lay the 7, even with like a little bit of extra juice, because 7 is the key number. But this spot is really just about fading Chicago being a massively overrated team, and I think at some point it's got to happen, even though I do expect both teams to show up here. Chicago does have Green Bay next, which is a huge game. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're going to overlook the Eagles. I wouldn't say that, because, of course, the Eagles are the returning champs. Everybody's going to get up for that, but the Eagles are coming off an embarrassing loss to Dallas, where they blew a 21-0 lead and never scored again. I think they're going to be really, really angry after that coming into this one, man. You're going to get a pissed off Eagles team. They don't have anything to look ahead to, even though it's a primetime game. It's against an AFC opponent, Chargers. I think the Eagles are going to show up in this one, man. And, I mean, at least they did win and cover against, like, the Giants of Minnesota, although I know, again, looking for them to win and cover, it hasn't happened that often. But and one of the times that it did against the Rams, and they covered against Tampa Bay too, I think. But against the Rams, that was on that kick return touchdown, which was total BS. But anyway, I think it's a bounce back spot for Philly. Chicago is probably the most fraudulent team that we've ever seen in the NFL. As I've been pointing out, they still have a negative point differential, -3, meaning that teams have outscored them on the season in their games. They have a negative yards per play differential in the games that they've played, meaning that teams have gained more yards per play against them consistently, which I think they've only had more yards per play in only a handful of games this year than their opponent. A few games. They face an extremely weak schedule. And what else do I have to say about it? Caleb Williams, his numbers aren't very good. I'm just not buying it. The Chicago offense is mediocre at best. I think they're below average if you look at the guys that do like the metrics, and then they're a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. So Philly should be able to move the ball against Chicago, man. So I like Philly in the game. It's not a play for me, but that's going to do it. Once again, my plays, because we have a ton of them. College basketball, NJIT plus the points. Charleston Southern plus the points. Wisconsin minus the points. Mississippi State plus the 1. Pittsburgh plus the points. Football, also Mississippi State plus the points. New Mexico plus the 1. Texas plus the points. And hockey, we got Islanders money line, Utah, Mammoth money line, and basketball, NBA, Orlando plus the points. That's going to do it. Let's win on the day, man. Yep, fuck the Bears. I'm ready to be right finally and see the Bears epically collapse. And I don't like Caleb Williams either, because I just think he sucks. I don't even like the Eagles at all. But yeah, thank you, sir. Pinsy, what's up? Thank you. You're on VCU. I mean, I didn't give it out as a play. I mean, it was an opinion for me. But I mean, I think that they'll win. But That's going to do it, man. Learn to Toad on Instagram, Learn to Toad on Twitter. Like, subscribe to the channel here. Leave me a good comment. Leave me a good review on Apple, Spotify. Listen over there. That helps me. Covered in Uke on YouTube, my Uke channel, and patreon.com/Learn to Toad, and you can get bonus content that I never pay attention to. My YouTube, at least, is up to date with the Uke now. I got to keep it going, I know. Sorry, Charles. But yeah, patreon.com/Learn to Toad. You get a Uke feed on Spotify, and you get requests that I will probably ignore for longer than I should, and that's it. Thank you, sir. We get the rants. Yeah, I apologize for my anger. I'm being a dick, but I'm angry at the world, man. I'm not trying to yell at any of you. I'm just pissed. Yeah, Dark Toad. That's going to do it. Got to get this first video out for the noon game. Peace, guys.